mediocre. And all mediocre people can do is get drunk and forget.
Hey, bro. Come on. Let's get drunk.
I get drunk. Real drunk.
I want to get drunk.
I mean, sure, when you get drunk, you're awful disgusting. You smell, too.
Drunk and stay drunk.
Let's get drunk and pass out.
Did you get drunk, dance in your underwear and sing sea shanties?
I got a hell of a good idea. Let's get drunk.
All we want is to pass out and get drunk. And a little peace.
So, we get drunk, and we're left like hell, and then we die. And the pipe dream vanish.
They deserve to unwind and get drunk.
We have to get drunk immediately.
Are you gonna get drunk tonight, Daddy?
Damn.
Well, I say we get drunk because I'm all out of ideas.
Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I am Legal Vices, and we're late. We are late as usual because I had to make myself a little bit of a cocktail because it is Friday, and Friday rules apply. We got some limited time here, so we got to jump into this real super quick. We'll just bring our guest in, and then we'll do the little housekeeping stuff, and then we'll hit the stories. Megan Fox, not the thumbs, the other one, right here, reporter extraordinaire. Welcome.
Hey, chat. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
The one person who can make murder humorous is Megan Fox.
Well, you know, politics is too depressing, so I have to turn to murder. That's all I have to say about that. Murder is my dessert. You know, it's like what I do for my fun time.
Yeah.
I'm a dark, sick person. I'm sorry.
And that's the thing. I love having Megan on talk about these subjects because her sense of humor is like right about where mine is, which is really sad for her. But it means I'm not alone. You are not alone. we got a lot of weird stuff to talk about, but unfortunately, Megan's kind of got a limited time. She's got about an hour.
Yeah, but I can do it. I can do it, Jeff. I'm a seasoned professional. We can get to it.
You can.
This all begins with a very bizarre tale that was told in the New York Post the other day, and none of the other, news agencies are picking this up, which I find very bizarre. But it all starts with a very bizarre arrest in April of two guys named Teherzada and Ali. That's their last names.
Keep those names in your mind as we get through this background information and do the housekeeping stuff here. Welcome, chat. Welcome, mods. Welcome, everybody. It's Friday. It's not an effort Friday, but we've got a lot of stories to cover today because there's so much happening in the world. We've got the Idaho murder thing we're going to be talking about in the middle. We've got Andrew Branca joining us later to talk about the ALEC Baldwin thing. But I was listening to Megan Fox and Steve Gosney. Steve, the guy that does everything, the guy that's knife is committing all the murders that are ever being committed in America right now until he finds out where his knife is. I was listening to them talk, and they're telling this story, and I'm thinking, what the F am I listening to here? This is the most absurd story. This is like literally, it makes no sense at all. And the more I deep dived into it, the weirder it got. So I thought, let's have Megan on here. So before we get to that, real quick, everybody, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're just starting out. We've only got 290 people here yet, but we do have 167 likes. And somehow we have 175 people that have taken the like and subscribe poll. So again, some of you are cheating mofos. Some of you are taking the poll without actually hitting the like button. So shame on you, shame on your house, and curses on you and your family for 7 generations.
I chose the Waffle House, by the way, and I also hit the like button.
Today is slap that like and subscribe button like a group of women at Waffle House.
That was mine. I took that one.
Good. Slap that like and subscribe button like a bunch of giant Russians in a ring. Slap fights are a thing now. Slap it like a incel alone on Friday night. And slap it like a pimp with an underperforming hooker.
Oh, that's just too cruel. Chat, don't choose that one. Go with Waffle House.
There wasn't enough space for like a fat guy with sores on his face that punches an underperforming hooker in the gut on a back alley on a Friday night. There wasn't enough room to put that, but anyway.
Oh God.
All right, so hit the subscribe, and again with Megan, visit Megan Fox's site, and she has a local site and a YouTube site. She's all over the place. She probably has a Rumble too.
I do.
She does.
And I have locals, meganfox.locals.com. Please come over there. That's why I have to run today, because I promised my locals family we would do a cooking stream. We're making freezer meals today. We're making at least 6 freezer meals we can stick in our freezers for later in the week. It's a fantastic time saver. I'm telling you. But I got to do it early because I got sick kids I got to take to the doctor.
I was like, oh, I did that with Thanksgiving. I had to go to Christmas. I got to go like a Christmas party. I'm like, well, I'm making it. May as well stream it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I've been shocked to find out how many people, need help with little things, or maybe didn't get the good lessons I got from my mom to learn how to make stuff. And there's a shocking lack of home ec classes in America. So I'm doing home ec on locals. Come on over. It's fun.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite little comedian bits, but I can't remember who did it. Actually, that's the problem. Talking about how everybody's like, oh, he's like, yeah, hey, I took home ec in high school, and everybody's like, oh, you're gay, you're taking home ec. He's like, look, you're sitting around in a locker room watching a bunch of naked men, and I'm sitting in a room with 35 women. Who's the gay one in this group?
Yeah, it's like joining cheerleading in college when you're a man. It's a great idea. It's a great way to meet women. It's terrific.
And this is so great that we're totally off track before we even start.
The chat, Reindeer says, Megan is on a crusade to domesticate us. Yep.
Yep, to serve man. She's just trying to cow you so she can kill you and eat you.
It's true. I just want you to get back in the kitchen where you belong, ladies. Let's just get back in the kitchen and figure it out. I'm just kidding. Not really.
And if you need a kitchen to get into, go down to your local auto parts. They'll get you in the kitchen in no time.
I shared with you the second link I shared with you in the private chat is the first article we want to start with.
Well, that's one we want to start with before we do the actual arrest warrant against these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, unless you want to do the arrest warrant, we could do the arrest warrant instead. That's fine.
Well, let's do the arrest warrant and then go to sort of the explanation for this, because this arrest warrant is so weird and so weird. Out of the blue.
Okay.
All right.
You've got it,
mods,
right?
Thank you so much. You mods are the best mods ever. Chat, you're the best chat ever. Megan, you're the best guest ever. Not guest. You're the best guest, not the best guest. You're the best guest ever. And everyone that subscribes, you're the best subscribers ever. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, take the poll. Let's get into this right now. No super chats are required to talk to me, but everything is gratefully accepted and graciously answered. Super chat just guarantees I get it answered. Anyway else, we try to pay attention to whatever's going on in chat, but there's a lot going on, and we'll do our best. So let's go. All right. This is what happened. This is setting the stage here. This is just random. It's in DC. We're in the district court of the District of Columbia. We're in Washington, DC. Out of the blue. This was when the hell was this? It was like April?
April. It was in April.
Yeah, April of 2022. Suddenly, 2 guys get arrested. Let's hit the high points of their arrest warrant.
Okay.
This is weird.
Are you going to pull it up?
Yep, I'm doing it right as we talk. I got to bring up ye olde window here. Boom. All right.
Super weird. So these
Let's
2 guys.
Digging it here. Yeah, so there's Aryan Taherizadeh and Haider Ali. We'll just call him T and A for short.
I've been saying Taherizadeh, but I don't know if that's correct or not. I am just pronouncing it how I see it. Taherizadeh and Ali.
I'm just pronouncing it
filed
TNA.
under seal. Special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation wrote this.
Yes, this is literally an FBI agent putting out this complaint against these guys. Who are they?
Oh, it's hard to tell. I don't think they still know.
Yeah. This affidavit is submitted in support of a criminal complaint charging the defendants TNA with 1 count of you like that, do you?
I do.
With funny. 1 count of false impersonation of an officer of the United States. Summary. Here's the background summary. We'll burn through this because it's just weird.
So freaking weird.
From beginning as early as February 2020 through the present, TNA have been falsely assuming and pretending to be officers or employees acting under the authority of the United States government, specifically the Department of Homeland Security. TNA are just telling everybody they're Homeland Security agents and have acted as such. TNA are not, in fact, employees of the Department of Homeland Security or any United States government agency. TNA have represented themselves as such to numerous people, many of whom are members of federal law enforcement agencies.
Your voice. We need the screaming sheep. This is such a bizarre.
Yes, so these guys, TNA, have been telling other real federal agents that they are federal agents also, and these guys are buying it.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God, yeah. They pulled this shit off for years.
Oh, God. Yeah, so, in furtherance of their false and fraudulent conduct, TNA obtained paraphernalia with insignias of and firearms, including handguns, assault rifles used by federal law enforcement agencies. Take the next paragraph.
Okay. During the course of their conduct, TNA have attempted to use their false and fraudulent affiliation with DHS to ingratiate themselves with members of federal law enforcement in the defense community. Specifically, Teherzada has provided members of the United States Secret Service and an employee of DHS with, among other things, rent-free apartments with a total yearly rent of over 40 grand per apartment.
These guys in this, they've provided at least two Secret Service agents with free apartments for more than a year.
Yeah.
And when we get into this, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill desk jockey Secret Service guys either. These are some important mofos.
Oh, should we just drop the bomb on who they work for?
Oh, we'll get through that down here later.
All right, fine. So apartments, iPhones, surveillance systems, a drone, a flat screen television, a case for storing an assault rifle, a generator, and law enforcement paraphernalia. Teherzada also offered these individuals use of what he represented to be official government vehicles. In addition, Teherzada offered to purchase a $2,000 assault rifle for a United States Secret Service agent assigned to the First Lady's protective detail, and just any First Lady, folks. Jill fucking Biden. Let's just go there.
That's what I'm saying. These aren't just your normal schmuck guys that are, they're not the ones that are shredding documents in the basement. These are people that are protecting the First Lady of the United States of America, and they're buying TNA's bullshit.
And also, can we just put, I'm so disappointed in a federal agent that used the phrase assault rifle in an arrest warrant. There's no such thing as an assault rifle, but whatever. Yeah. As of April 4th, as a result of this conduct,
you just meant big, scary looking gun.
4 members of the Secret Service were placed on administrative leave pending further investigation. 4 guys, count them.
4 of them. So in furtherance of their false and fraudulent conduct, TNA recruited individuals to be an employee of DHS. They conned someone into believing they worked for the DHS.
The best part was their interview process.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the interview here. As part of the recruitment process, TNA required the applicant to be shot with an airsoft rifle to evaluate their pain tolerance and reaction. Subsequent to being shot, that tells you they agreed to be shot for this job at DHS.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Seriously. Oh my God. Subsequent to being shot, the applicant was informed that the hiring was in process. The applicant was also assigned to conduct research. We have to shoot you with an airsoft rifle to see if you're qualified to do research. And they're assigned to do research on other people in the Department of Defense.
So they're hiring someone to research people who work in our Department of Defense and intelligence community. What the hell is going on here?
Oh, see, here's our resident glowy, Johnny Osprey. Getting shot by an airsoft rifle isn't a big deal. It's a big deal if it's part of your job application process.
Yeah, it's not a big deal if you're screwing around in the yard with your friends. It's kind of a big deal if someone says to you, stand against that wall over there. We're going to shoot you with an airsoft rifle so you can have this job. That's
so we can see if you're qualified to do research.
This is so ridiculous.
This is like that McDonald's thing. Like, we need you to strip naked in front of the video cameras to make sure you didn't steal it.
A naked woman in the McDonald's?
And guys, we're just getting started. started with this fucked up story. Sorry, YouTube. Don't do bad things to my monetization because I said fucked up 15 minutes into it, but this really is.
Shoot, I said it too. Sorry.
I know.
It's
Okay,
too late.
here's the probable cause. This is the witness statements. On March 14th, 2022, a postal service guy responds to investigate an assault. Someone beat up a mailman. So they're investigating that. And the UPS inspector learned from individuals living in the apartment that two individuals, T and A, who represented themselves as DHS investigation special agents, may have witnessed these. This is how it all unraveled. A mailman got beat up.
And the USPIS inspector is the only smart person in the entire federal government. The entire federal government. FBI didn't know. They didn't think DHS couldn't figure it out. Secret Service agents bought it hook, line, and sinker. The postal inspector takes one look at this and goes, yeah, this is a scam. Give that man a raise. Whoever that is. Let's give him a raise.
Furthermore, A identified T as an HSI special agent. T and A identified themselves as deputized special police with the city government of the District of Columbia. T and A claimed to be involved in an undercover gang-related investigation, as well as conducting investigations related to violence at the Capitol on January 6th.
That's how they got away with it.
Two Middle Eastern guys are assigned to investigate January 6th.
That tracks. That tracks. That sounds like something our government would do.
Yeah. The postal inspector.
I personally think them saying that is what gave them a lot of leeway with people. They'd be like, oh, yeah, that January 6th. Yeah, that's a big deal. There's a lot of us on that. Yeah.
And as you're going to see as we go through the rest of this real quickly, apparently everybody in this apartment complex worked for they were all feds. Everybody in this apartment complex.
And it's this super expensive, pricey Tishman Spire building. Okay. Super pricey. And these two spies, or whoever they are, spies like us, these two, they had 5 penthouses that they never paid for.
This is really weird.
I want Tishman Spire on the stand right now.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is what Megan was just talking about. They utilize several apartments. These guys own or rent or whatever several apartments in this complex. They told the residents that the apartments were being paid for by the DHS. And then TNA, they have surveillance videos set up all through the apartment complex. And they're bragging about it. And everybody's like, well,
in other people's apartments too, possibly. Yeah. They don't.
And they're
even
like,
know.
oh, well, that's good. We've got DHS agents watching out for us. And here we go. The postal inspector determined the TNA were in regular contact with several members of the Secret Service who also reside there. The Secret Service agents were both members of uniformed and protection divisions. T offered to provide a rifle to a member of the USS, valued approximately $2,000. It was this point the FBI began its investigation.
Because the postal inspector called them. That's the thing. They didn't start investigating until the postal inspector called them and was like, guys, what's going on with these two in this building who keep saying they're DHS? Don't think they are.
And listen to these witnesses. Do you want to take the first witness? The first witness is not employed by any. She's like, he or she is the only one that's not a person here. She's not a Fed. He or she. I think it's a she. I don't know why, but I think it's a she.
Teherzada recruited Witness 1 to serve as an employee of HSI, according to Witness 1, because she believed that Teherzada was an employee of HSI. She agreed to pursue HSI employment through him. Teherzada represented that he had started the process of hiring Witness 1 as an employee of HSI, and that he also had authority to deputize individuals as employees of HSI. Further, Teherzada told Witness 1 that as a part of the recruiting process, he would have to shoot Witness 1 with an air rifle in order to evaluate Witness 1's reaction and pain tolerance. According to Witness 1, because she believed that this was part of it, the recruiting process, she agreed to be shot and subsequently was shot by Teherzada. And during the shooting, Ali was present.
Liz like over there going, yeah, shoot him. Oh, God.
I think there's a lawsuit here, though. There's a lawsuit here against the feds for not including the non-binary pronouns. There are more pronouns than he, she feds.
There are.
Zimzer. We could have gone Liz. He, she, Zimzer, they, them.
Agent Zimzer. Witness 2 is a Secret Service agent currently assigned to the First Lady's protection detail. This is literally a man who is tasked with protecting the life of the First Lady of the United States of America.
Jill
who
Biden,
is
man.
supposed to be knowing everything, suspicious of everything, uncovering every plot that could possibly be used.
Is taking free apartments from two guys with Middle Eastern names. Like, you got to be kidding me. For taking gifts, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and it's just basically they're showing him all his weapons. They're showing him, all of their badges, all of their equipment, and they hear, oh, you don't believe me? Here's me and my gear.
I was looking at that. So that little vest right there, you can buy that on Amazon, by the way.
Of course.
It looks like the one they sell on Amazon. And they have little Velcro patches that you can pull on and off,
So you have to believe him because he's got his name there and he says special agent and he's got a tiger tat. So why wouldn't you believe him? And then it's like, oh, here's all my gear in my house.
Now that looks like to me, that looks like rollerblading equipment. I don't know.
It turns out the photo is it's a stock photo from the internet, and there's no record that he's ever taken part in any training.
Yeah, look at he used the stock photo to say he was in a DHS training.
This is me in training.
Oh my god.
Oh, so yeah. And he's got a Streamlight flashlight attachment on his Glock 19, so he must be a real federal agent.
Oh, and these people, they were trading guns. They were, he was giving them gun holsters, and they're just taking this shit from him, all of them.
Yeah, so Witness 2 we'd seen him wearing his firearm in public outside the apartment.
Must be a real thing.
Witness 3. You want to take Witness 3 here real quick?
A member of the United States Secret Service, another one, uniform division assigned to protect the White House complex, who lived in a penthouse apartment at the building.
This is a guy who's got to protect the White House to prevent Middle Eastern terrorists from infiltrating the White House and killing everyone inside. This is a guy who has to be so sharp that nobody's going to get past him. None of these false fake guys are going to get past him.
Teherzadeh introduced himself to Witness 3 as an HSI agent. Teherzadeh told Witness 3 that he is currently in a gang unit with DHS and that Teherzadeh used to work in crimes against children. Witness 3 stated that Teherzadeh's credentials say ICE on them and indicate that he's a special agent. Teherzadeh provided Witness 3 with a rent-free penthouse apartment for approximately 1 year, which cost approximately $40,200. According to Witness 3, Teherzadeh paid for another federal law enforcement officer's rent in the apartment complex.
Yeah, and then again, it just goes down the same thing. Oh, he shows us all his badges. He shows us his emails.
Now, this one he had a private identity verification card, which is interesting. And apparently it fooled all of them. And when they searched his apartment, they found fake ID making equipment. And I think it was people who were in his apartment saw him log onto a computer that had DHS logos all over it and having to access it with a card. I'm not convinced these guys aren't glowies, to tell you the truth. I'm not convinced they're not.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing. That's where I'm thinking too. They could very well be. You're one of those
DHS. Like
we don't. We don't know you. If you get busted, we never knew you.
We never knew you. Exactly. Well, there's still no answers to who paid for the apartments. They were never paid. They went unpaid. Tishman Speyer allowed these guys to have 5 penthouses and never pay their rent for 2 years. Does that sound normal to you?
And I mean, they didn't go. What now? Wait, who's paying for my apartment? Why isn't my boss paying for my apartment?
Yeah, right.
Says the guy who's protecting the fucking White House from infiltrators.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, and now Witness 4 is a document analysis expert. A guy whose job is to ferret out false documents.
This is why I think maybe the documents weren't false.
Either way, these are the guys that are either protecting our freedom and keeping America safe for democracy, and they're complete fuck ups.
Sleep well, folks.
Or these guys are more than they're made out to be in this affidavit.
They fooled how many feds now? We're up to 4 4 witnesses. We're up to 4 people they've completely fooled with this crap.
T told witnesses he was an HSI agent, but he was working undercover. Witness 4 talked to the supervisor about T and was unable to verify his information through AHSI. When witness 4 confronted him, he said, well, my name was redacted due to my undercover status. Okay, guys, women, if you're ever in a bar and some guy claims to be a Navy SEAL and you can't find his name because he's undercover or it was top secret. You're on record.
If you're undercover, by the way, you're not telling people in a bar that, and you're not telling people that you live next to that. There's no one's going to hear that. So if anyone says to you, I'm undercover, they're lying.
Yeah, not anymore. You just told me you're undercover.
You just told me, you idiot. And also, this is like True Lies. The fake spy who tries to pick up his wife. That's what this reminds me of like, being all clandestine and stuff just to pick up women. Maybe this was about picking up women. Maybe he was sleeping with the Secret Service agents. I don't know if they were female or male. They don't suggest. They don't say.
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't really matter.
It could be anybody. What am I saying?
Yeah, while in T's primary residence, witness 4 saw a significant amount of law enforcement paraphernalia, including SWAT vests, a large safe, computers, high-powered telescopes, internal surveillance cameras. T was also shown witness 4 surveillance footage from around the apartment complex. And we can just burn through witness 5 here. It's basically more of the same. He was also living rent-free. He or she, sorry. But he was also employed by the Secret Service. And same stuff. He passes himself off. He's got the right ammunition. He's got certificates and all this other stuff.
Computers.
And so
log into DHS. Very, very suspicious.
Yeah. So they formed this company called United Special Police LLC.
Shouldn't that be illegal? Shouldn't that not be legal to call yourself police? Can you just
address is their apartment?
Can I just open up an LLC called Fox Police Department? I mean, it's great.
Yeah. And so the conclusion is we think these guys aren't who they say they are and they should be arrested. That's the conclusion. Oh, so all right. So that's just this weird story.
The judge, we got to talk about what the judge did. So
what did the judge do?
The judge says, and this is so shady. Here, let me pull this up so you can see it.
All right.
Here. All right, there you go. All right.
Artist renditions. Cool.
Yeah, now we get what they look like here. Men charged in Homeland Security impersonation plot to be released from jail pending trial. This was in April. Magistrate Judge Michael Harvey said the Justice Department's arguments were overblown. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, sir. Excuse me, sir. We have people sitting in jail for 2 years who walked into the Capitol and paraded through taking selfies of themselves. And they've been sitting in jail for 2 years, no bail, no ankle monitors, nothing for that. And these two with fake visas, by the way, we didn't read that, but they had, I don't know if they were fake or not. One of them, TRA, or both of them had visas from Pakistan and Iran. Now, why would they have multiple visas from multiple places? This judge said the state didn't give him enough evidence and had not met the legal standard required to keep TNA in jail. Both will be released on home detention and will not be allowed to go to airports or foreign embassies or talk to any of the federal agents they allegedly duped. During his hour-long rant or ruling, Harvey lambasted the Justice Department's claims that the men were dangerous, were trying to compromise agents, and were tied to a foreign government. Look at this. The judge is claiming that there's no evidence that ties these two to a foreign government. They had visas from Pakistan and Iran, but Judge Michael Harvey says there's no evidence they were tied to any foreign governments. What?
Huh?
What's happening here?
What does that mean?
Am I on acid? Because I feel like I'm tripping. What's going on?
Wow, that's weird.
The government made no showing that national security information was in fact compromised, Harvey said. So according to Judge Harvey, you can just tell anybody that you work for the secret or you work for the FBI or whatever, DHS, as long as you don't do anything. You can just run around impersonating cops. No, you can't. It's against the law. They had blue and red lights on their vehicle. They had police lights. There is no evidence of foreign ties in this case, Harvey said, and no suggestion that any foreign government that is hostile to the United States was involved in the alleged plot. This is why I'm telling you, I am not convinced that these two are not connected to some agency. Because why would this federal judge just basically say there's nothing to see here?
Yeah. Well, speaking of things to see, the J. Clark has, after 30 minutes, unleashed the super chat, the first super chat after 30 minutes on a Friday. You guys should be liquoring me up with $100 super chats by now, but it's not required. No pressure, no hype.
I'm like
Megan, Pretty Thumbs Fox.
I'm like grift poison, unfortunately. No, super chats die when I come around.
No, see, the thing is, when people are really engaged and involved in the story, they don't think to send like the super chats and things. It's when it's boring and you're in a break and you're not talking, then people send the super chats. It's like really weird. So I just think that the lack of super chats just means we're really fucking entertaining.
Well, maybe that's my problem on my show. I'm just too entertaining. I got to tone it down a bit so I get more super chats. This is just so nuts, though. Harvey,
I think these two watched True Lies one too many times. Says King Bob with another super chat. Thank you so much.
Harvey noted that TNA did not appear to have ever paid their rent and had been appointed public defenders, suggesting they did not have access to the funds normally expected from foreign agents. Look, so his argument, the judge is arguing on behalf of the defense right now. Really, the judge is arguing that these two, I've never seen anything like this. He's arguing that these two are no threat. They're just a couple of con men who conned the entire United States federal government.
The people in charge of protecting the White House and the First Lady. No, nothing serious.
Yeah, the judge doesn't think this is serious at all. Okay, so they get released. And apparently they've been convicted, or at least one of them's been convicted, and his sentencing hasn't happened yet. I don't know which one. Okay, that brings us to the next piece.
All right, so let's put all of this weird shit we've just talked about for the last 32 minutes aside. It all means nothing. It's over. It's done with. Forget it. Now we've got a random guy named BRIAN WALSHE who was arrested a year or so ago, pled guilty, I believe, to selling fake Andy Warhol paintings.
Yes.
This is a guy, he owns a bunch of properties.
On eBay, by the way. If you were going to buy an Andy Warhol painting, do you think eBay's the place that you're going to find it? Just saying. I think you would probably go to one of those auction houses, you know,
probably
like what's the big one?
Christie's,
Lloyd's,
yeah.
Lloyd's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they're just like some random dude in Massachusetts that he's trying to sell fake Andy Warhol paintings online.
Oh, and he did.
Yeah.
He and his wife, apparently the wife,
and he got nailed. Yeah,
was communicating with the buyers through email. He gets nailed. He gets an ankle monitor put on him. I think he took some kind of plea deal, so he's on probation. And he's awaiting
sentencing.
Yeah.
And then in January, there's New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, his wife goes missing.
Anna Walsh.
And that's where we pick up this story. BRIAN WALSHE charged with murder, dismemberment of his wife, Anna Walsh. Anybody that spells Walsh like that should be suspect.
It is strange.
Anyway.
It is strange. He's a weird looking dude too.
Yeah, and this dude is he's punching way above his weight.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Chaos coordinator, bringing the heat.
Ooh.
Have a shot, Jeff. It's not like I was threatened to send money. I'll have a shot too. Ooh, chaos coordinator. New one.
Nice.
Is this part of the Brandon Collective that I'm not aware of? Wait, what do I? Oh, thank God I'm Legal Vices, and I have some.
I got my first $100 super chat
High
for
five.
a shot the other day.
High five.
High five.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank heavens I'm Legal Vices, and I just happen to have a random bottle of alcohol sitting next to me.
I will say though, it's not a grift I'm going to embrace.
Yeah.
Because I woke up in very much pain the next day. Ooh, you just got another one. Holy crap.
Jesus, people. This isn't Effort Friday, but thanks. This is Lafroy 10, so it sort of tastes like old people in a hospital.
Gross.
It's a total peaty thing. I don't know if can you do shots of peated scotch? Oh, God. Let's find out.
Don't die. No, not good.
Not taking as a shot.
That face. Well, now you have to do another one. You got another one.
Well, I happen to have another bottle sitting here next to me as
Yeah,
well.
I would choose something else. That didn't look pleasant.
Oh my God. Yes, Isla smoky scotches are to be sipped, not taken shots at. Oh my God.
Bobby Baloney says, Megan, the trick is finding a grift that causes you to suffer. Chat likes that. Yeah, but I woke up in so much pain, and all I did, I had 3 drinks, 1 shot, 3 drinks of whiskey, and I was in so much pain the next day. I was useless yesterday.
Oh, I'm doxing my email address. Ooh, nobody'd ever figure out who I am. Now you got to figure out the screen where that's at. Okay, here it is. Oh yeah, there's me. Good thing you didn't see my Pornhub ID. Please do send nudes if you're a hot, attractive female. If you're a guy, don't. All right, what the hell have we? Look, we're on limited Megan time here. Give me a freaking break. Okay, so we did the have a shot thing. I'll have a shot too. Pooh Zerker. That's weird. Pooh Zerker. Greetings from the deep south. You and Sean, potentially criminal, are the best. Actually, there's a thing I want to do with the potentially criminal Sean that I can't disclose right now. I'm trying to work on something. If y'all collab, it could be legal criminal. Howdy, Megan.
Thanks a lot.
There is something I want to do with potentially criminal Sean that I can't talk about just yet. Magnus Borson. Yeah, go ahead. What was that, Megan?
The chat wanted to know what I'm cooking on Locals today. So we're making tacos, baked ziti casserole. I'm making chicken burrito bowls, kung pao chicken, spaghetti and meatballs, my famous spaghetti and meatballs, which are made with pork. Very, very delicious.
Frozen spaghetti and meatballs?
No, you make it fresh, and then you freeze it because it heats up great. It heats up. It's actually better afterwards because it melds all the flavors together.
See, Megan knows. I tell you, like my mother, she made the best goddamn spaghetti that you've ever tasted in your life, and it was like twice the most amazing good the second day.
Yes,
and you can even eat it cold, and it was the most amazing spaghetti and meatballs you ever had.
Yeah, yes. I'm doing it at 9:30, chat, on Locals, meganfox.locals.com, and we're making like at least 6 meals, maybe more, because if you have a smaller family, you can divide these into 2, and you can have 2 of each, so maybe 12. Ooh. You could probably get 12 out of it.
I'll be there on the replay crew.
Yeah.
Megan Brun says, can't stay, but love what you do, Jeff. Keep up the good work. Well, this is a...
if you can't stay, you might as well drop $100 in the chat.
It's a small bottle of Evan Williams that I got here next to me, and that's like a shot and a half, damn it. Oh, well.
I do have some liqueur I could throw in my coffee. Maybe I should do that. What do I have here? I've got
some Baileys.
This is a coffee liqueur.
Oh, that'll do it.
That'll do.
Make yourself like a little...
I'll toss it in my coffee.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay.
I don't have to take the kids to the doctor until later in the afternoon. It'll be fine.
Maxine of Arc. I got banned on Twitter till I delete 2 tweets pointing out medical fact to the mentally ill and their allies. I wonder who owns a property management company or is on the board. I don't know.
Tishman Spire. We should look into it. Yeah. They're one of the biggest realty firms, ever.
Drow on. Oh, just a little heart. Thank you so much. You have the coolest little sideways dog I've ever seen. I love your dog. You know I love your dog. I always tell you I love your dog. Doggy's so cute. All right, let's get to this Boston Herald article. We're running out of Megan time.
It's all right.
All right. Dude, Adam Walsh, property manager, on house arrest for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings. Wife turns up missing, and just a few days later, he's arrested for chopping her up into little pieces.
Well, first he was arrested for lying to police, and then they gathered the evidence to arrest him for murder. So yeah, he's been under arrest for a little while.
So this is our man. Thank you all for all the super chats. My stomach is nice and warm now. Full of booze. Anna Walsh, that was her name, Anna. And seriously, anybody that spells their name Walsh, Walshe, be skeptical. Disappeared from her Cohasset home in the first hours of the new year when the DA said her husband began scouring the internet on how to dismember a body and quickly collect an inheritance. Now let's pull this out of the side here and just look at literally what his search terms were.
Allegedly.
But again, okay, we'll get into that a little bit later in just a second here, but where are we? Damn it.
Yeah, there's like a list of them at the bottom.
Yeah, where'd the list go?
I
think it's on the story continues
part. There it is.
These were things allegedly on his son's iPad, not his own, because the police would check your own. So he did it on his son's iPad, probably allegedly thinking his son's iPad wouldn't be checked. How long before a body starts to smell?
I have a very hard time that someone is this stupid, but Steve Gosney did assure me that criminals are incredibly stupid. And in fact, Steve in fact said, he goes, this is exactly like something someone would do. They would think, well, I'm not going to search my computer because I know that my Google search history, but I'll go to my son's iPad and that'll be fine.
But see, Megan, I'm totally on board with you because I totally agree with how you retorted to Steve Gosney. Where do you do these searches?
At the public library.
Yes.
You can't, they wipe the servers every night. You don't have to have an ID to get on. Nobody knows what you're searching. Nobody looks. Nobody cares. I mean, if you're going to search stuff like this, for God's sake, do it at the Orland Park Public Library where they love criminals and they let criminals get away with anything.
And Ms. K. Grift is the newest member of the Clean and Sober crew. Welcome, Mrs. Grift. Thank you so much for that. You are so awesome. Deeply, deeply appreciated. So he checked for how long before a body starts to smell, how to stop a body from decomposing.
Oh, God.
How to embalm a body. I think you probably have to go to school for that. I'm not sure. How long for someone to be missing to inherit? Why is that? Well, because his wife had a lot of inheritance, apparently.
Yeah.
And what does formaldehyde do?
Yeah, this is all perfectly normal.
And you know, like when he's like typing, how long does DNA last? And he sees the answer like potentially hundreds of years. He's like, oh, fuck. Can identification be made on partial remains? The best way to dispose of a body? How to clean blood from the wooden floor?
Oh, God.
What happens when you...
I like this one. Hacksaw. Hacksaw, best tool to dismember. What?
I snorted.
Can you be charged with murder without a body? How do you not know this? How do you not know that? Of course, you can be charged with murder without a body. This is as old as time. For God's sake,
has this guy never watched CSI?
Never watched CSI. You've never watched a law show. You've never watched a murder show. You never watched a documentary. You never watched anything about. You never read a book about murder. Like what? Look, this can't be okay. There's something terribly wrong with this.
Oh wait, we don't want this now. I just got rid of that. We need to go back to our original Boston Herald because this is all in Massachusetts. So the Boston Herald has a pretty detailed story here.
God, I've got terrible Google search results though for my job.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez.
Wow. Sorry, we just entered Inception mode. Wow, that was like Inception mode. Sorry about that, guys. I may or may not have had lots of alcohol at this point. Let's try it one more time. And those last two shots didn't help anything at all. All right, here we go. I got it. It's okay.
You can do it, Jeff.
You can do it. You can do it. He's searching. So, can you be charged with murder without a body? So what happened? And we'll get to this probably after Megan leaves because it's lesser important. The police came to his house on January 4th for a well-being check because nobody heard from his wife since like New Year's Eve.
And it was apparently her employer who reported her missing, and he told everybody she went to work. I just dropped. I think the next article you need is the one in the private chat I just put in there. You need the New York Post one because that's going to tie all this together.
Oh, I'm really disappointed by this article because the New York Post really has really cool headlines. This is so mundane.
It's true. And also, the New York Post is the only news source that put this together. And even after they did this, nobody else has reported it. Oh,
okay, well, this is the connection that we need to make. I was going to spring this later, but it's been sprung now. BRIAN WALSHE, This guy who sold fake Andy Warhol paintings and allegedly chopped up his wife. His wife was the apartment manager for the TNA guys that were renting it out to the glowies and pulling this big scam on the U.S. government.
Uh-huh.
His wife was the manager that was making the United States special service. I'm liquored up. The Secret Service. Yeah, he was making the Secret Service look like idiots. His wife was, because she was managing the apartments where TNA were, and now she's gone, and her husband has miraculously been accused of her murder, doing these searches that no rational human being would ever search for.
And get this. The residents in the building are all pissed off with Anna Walsh because they've been trying to ask her questions about what the hell went down with those two. And she was avoiding all their questions. And in fact, in one instance, told them she wasn't even Anna Walsh. One of them said, "I'm very concerned about the voyeurism allegations. And after the men pled guilty, I attempted multiple times to gain information regarding which areas and units had been impacted and if mine had been one of them, but never received any answers," a female member of the Tenant Association's board who asked not to be identified by name told the Post. "I believe the management team here is doing everything they can to avoid sharing any information about this situation at all. So now all the glowies are involved, all the feds are involved, and we're supposed to believe that this guy's Google search results that are so specific and so bizarre that, like, and obviously it's like, oh, well, case closed. He obviously dismembered his wife and killed her. I mean, obviously you got caught buying cleaning supplies and tarps and all this stuff. And he's on tape throwing heavy bags into garbage cans. Okay. Or maybe, or
yes. Well, I mean, let's just even put this. Let's just connect the dots here. Everybody, get out your little 3x5 index cards and your multicolored yarn. Yes. There's two guys who are running some sort of scam. We still don't know the motive for why they were doing this, why they were running this, pretending to be people involved with the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security. They're getting in, they have Middle Eastern names. Nobody knows what country they're from because they have lots of passports, and they're infiltrating. They're getting in tight with all of the glowies, all of the feds that live in this apartment complex, and they're making absolute buffoons of Secret Service document analyst experts, people protecting the First Lady of the United States, people protecting the White House itself. They're making them look like fools and idiots, and then they're letting them live rent free in some random apartments. And the apartment manager of this complex turns up missing, and her husband is a guy who's under a
federal
indictment for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings.
So for sure,
with an ankle bracelet on, tracking his every movement.
But there's no body. Now,
the body
of course,
hasn't shown up yet.
There are explanations for this, I guess. Like, for instance, if he did throw the body out in trash bags, which it appears that he has, because they have him on camera putting some garbage bags. That's why they were searching the dump. But if the bags went into the incinerator before they got there, then it would be gone, right? But they did find a bag with bloody towels, a hacksaw.
Stephen Gosney, do you have time to join us? If you have time to join us, you're welcome, because Megan's got to bail here in a few minutes, and I would love to have you here. If you're able to join, please let me know.
So they found some bags that he threw out that had the hacksaw, bloody towels, other things in them, but no body parts. Now they've connected the DNA to Anna Walsh, and Brian Walsh's DNA is all commingled on the stuff they found in the bags. It looks real bad for him, no doubt, and he probably did it. But like Steve Gosney pointed out yesterday, we are at a point in this country where we have no faith in our institutions like the FBI. Our faith is so destroyed in them because of the raunchy and terrible illegal things they've done, falsifying FISA warrants, ginning up a kidnapping plot to arrest a couple of patsies for Governor Whitmer. There's so much that they've done that if they're involved in anything, my initial response is, yeah, I don't believe it. You know, that's my initial, because I don't believe anything the feds say, period.
Or alternatively, you can go, okay, I can see the feds whacking this guy's wife, faking all of the internet search terms in an effort to save face from being duped by these possibly foreign terrorist intelligence agents.
Who knows? Who knows? Don't you think it's weird that we don't know anything about the cases? These guys, we don't know anything about the details. Like, where do they come from? What country are they citizens of? Because if the judge is running around saying there's no evidence that they're connected to any foreign governments, well, who are they then? Well, why don't we know?
Well, and here's the interesting thing. His arrest affidavit is nowhere to be found online.
I know. I can't find it.
The only one you can find is he was arrested for apparently interfering with police officers by sending them somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested for that. And then they arrested him later, but we can't find his current arrest affidavit.
And I also can't even pull him up on the court docket. Now I know what district he's in. So I went to the Massachusetts court records. I sent you the link yesterday. I went there. He's at Quincy District in the district court. That's where the criminal courts are held.
Mm-hmm.
I typed in his name. It says no records found. What? How is that?
If you search by the case name, his name comes up, but only his name. You can't access anything else to do with the case.
Oh, so they've sealed it. Mm-hmm.
All right. Steve says send Linky if you want. Linky is sent, Mr. Gauze. All right. Yay, I have
Steve's got a great point of view on this. It's like, yeah, it all looks really bad for Brian Walshe. It really does. But at the same time, if I'm the defense attorney, I'm going to spin such a yarn, such a conspiracy yarn around this. I'm going to say my client was set up. My client was set up by the deep state actors. We've got at least, 4 of them involved: Secret Service, FBI, DHS, all of whom are being embarrassed by these two over here, clowns. And who knows what Anna's involvement. By the way, it should be mentioned that Anna Walshe is Serbian. She is, right?
Yes.
Serbian. She is not an American. She may have American citizenship now. I'm not sure, but she's from Serbia. So we have foreign actors on all accounts of this story. Like, it's really bizarre. And someone should look into it. Like, what was Anna doing? What was Anna's role in all of this? Because how can she be managing the building? There are 2 guys not paying rent for 2 years in 5 penthouses in the building she manages. And how is she letting them get away with this? Did anybody ask her?
And like you said, the people in the apartments, they didn't like her very much, and she denied being her. But I mean, we've got here, he's been charged with first-degree murder, dismembering her body, and whatnot. He did all these internet searches. And he said that she left maybe 10 a.m. on New Year's Eve in an Uber or a Lyft for a flight from Logan International to Reagan International in D.C. It's a trip she made often. She works as an executive for Tishman Speyer property development and management company that's recently purchased a townhouse. In the immediate aftermath of her being reported missing, police have said that Brian Walshe had been fully cooperative, but within 8 days, January 8th, police arrested him, and he was charged with misleading investigation by lying about his whereabouts. And we have, speaking about people who have missing knives and are killing everybody across the United States and constantly lies about his whereabouts, Stephen N. Gosney.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, Steve.
Sorry, none of that is true.
Megan, my favorite 2 people right here, man.
How are you?
If it wasn't you 2, I would not be here. I just had to send my leave slip in that I'm, I gotta, you don't know what I have to, I gotta work on this nasty case right now. You don't even know. And so it's like, and then here's my friends Megan and Vices inviting me, luring me over to this other world of happiness and joy.
No, Steve, the reason we're doing this is because I was watching you on Megan's channel talking about this the other day, going, what the hell are you guys talking about? This is not real.
Bizarre. It's like a novel. It's like a spy novel.
And like Megan said, like Steve, everybody, you always say everybody has the wrong impression about you and how pure and innocent you are. It's
not true.
But I mean, when like Megan said, when you're going, it's possible.
I know.
When you're not going, settle down.
I
Take
was
your conspiracy
expecting him to
theories
be like,
elsewhere.
I was expecting Steve to be like, Megan, stop it. That's ridiculous.
There's the Kmart, Steve.
I could make that argument. Steve's all, I could make that argument. If my client would let me, I would make that argument. I would too.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Well, yes. Well, do we want to address the missing K-bar or the was she killed with a K-bar?
Well, we don't want to talk about the K-bar. We don't want to incriminate.
Let's not talk about any of the K-bar.
No, I mean, like we just said, we've got two guys from parts unknown, like some Southern professional wrestling circuit from parts unknown TNA wrestlers. We don't know where they're from. They've got passports. They've multiple passports. They're living in penthouses. They haven't paid rent for 2 years. They're infiltrating the people charged with protecting the safety of the White House and the First Lady and document experts. They fool all of these people. And the apartment manager suddenly turns up missing when these guys are arrested. And this guy who's already waiting sentencing for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings online this is the weirdest circumstantial coincidental case that I've ever seen in my life.
It's bizarre.
It's weird. It's
yeah,
weird.
Well, Megan's
weird
all over
sure.
it, but and the thing is we had this nice discussion. Boy, Megan Fox Investigates is like one of the best shows on the channels around.
Aw, Steve.
And
it was a fun show though.
We had a blast. That was one of the best things. But I don't want to repeat myself if people have seen that already. But what Megan said is correct, and that is that our trust in our institutions has been so squandered. It's been so squandered that I immediately suspect skullduggery. And then
That's a good word for it.
Yes. Ooh. And then you surround it with this this air of like,
the word
what
for
is
the
going
today is skullduggery.
No, this is the case. It's skullduggery. And then you've got this whole era and this aura of all this CIA and FBI and like, what are these two people doing, and this infiltration of the feds, and it's all it just makes everything suspicious. Now, that being said, I think that it depends on a lot of the other hard evidence that
which there seems to be a lot of.
There seems to be a lot of. So if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but if I was a betting man, I'd say that this is
But look, how bad is it, Steve? That this looks like an open shut case, right? And yet we're still sitting around going,
if I can interrupt here for just a second on my own stream, guys.
Yeah.
No, if I can interrupt just a second.
Stop talking there, Mike. We're talking over here.
We've got all of this weird stuff, all of these internet searches for literally everything you would never search for on the internet if you had actually done this.
Yeah, how to kill 5'2" blonde-haired woman with a knife.
When does a dead body start to smell, and what does formaldehyde do?
How do you kill a wife of 8 years and dispose of her?
It's so damn specific.
But on top of that, and because literally now any pictures, any internet communications, any searches, you can presume they're faked because they're so easy to fake nowadays.
Deep fake,
but you have to look at the hard evidence. Like that was one of the things Steve was saying the other day. You have to look at the hard evidence. Well, let's look at some of the hard evidence here.
Yeah, there's a lot of
exactly. I'm the little crestfallen because it's like
his wife disappears on New Year's Eve.
More conspiracy here. I want less hard evidence.
Yeah, more conspiracy. If we throw out the Google searches, let's just say there were no. Let's just forget that. Let's just look at
less than 48 hours after the wife disappears. Security footage shows him at the Rockland Home Depot buying $450 worth of. I don't think I bought $450 worth of cleaning supplies in my entire 53 years on Earth. A Tivik suit. That's like the hazmat suit. Like you see the guys at the CDC and the Dugway Proving Grounds, like the movie Outbreak and Breaking Bad. A Tivik suit with boot covers, mops, buckets, goggles, baking soda, tape, a hatchet, and there was like,
some
hacksaws.
You're not skeptical enough. If this was a true deep state operation, they could have also faked this. You get a body double type person wearing a mask and
wearing
a
a
hat,
mask.
going
Yeah,
in
that's
there.
when he was buying this, he was wearing
maybe
a
it's
mask.
maybe it's not him.
And,
maybe it's not him. And then they load up they get his credit card and they make it, they send in the CIA agent with a faked credit card to say, and they buy this stuff. So I'm skeptical here also.
See, we can't
Yeah.
see this. Seriously, this could be a setup. It just could.
And now suddenly, a few days before, his wife says she wants a divorce. Rather than divorce, it is believed Brian Walshe
do we know this
dismembered
emails? Is this emails?
I'm not sure how we know that.
If it's emails, again, could this also be faked?
Oh, well, the New York Times just posted a note that she left for her husband right before New Year's, and it didn't look like it's an "I'm divorcing you" note. Hold on, it was on the refrigerator or something in pictures written in red ink. The final chilling note to husband revealed. It says,
"The CIA's out to get me. Help!"
It says, "Wow." This is what it says. "Wow, 2022, what a year. And yet we are still here and together. Let's make 2023 the best one yet. We are the authors of our lives. Courage, love, perseverance, compassion, and joy. Love, Anna."
Deep state refrigerator.
Does that sound like divorce to you?
Does not.
No.
I don't know. See there?
Here's a picture of it.
Where's the evidence?
You want to see the picture?
There's a picture.
There's a picture of the note.
The alleged note.
I'm putting it, the alleged note. I'm putting it in the private chat. There you go.
Your alleged law.
Look.
Is this lawful law?
Lawful law. Gosh. He's like a brain insect.
All right. Well, okay. This is the Walsh's final chilling note to husband.
Page down. Page down, and you'll see there's a picture of the note.
Who's that guy look like? Looks like the guy from Up. Anyway.
He looks like a Muppet to me. There.
Wow, what a year. And yet we are still here and together. Let's make 2023 the best one yet. We are the authors of our lives.
That doesn't look like a divorce.
Like sands through the hourglass. These are the
All right, guys, I gotta run. I gotta run.
Megan.
I gotta go to locals. I gotta go to locals.
Thank you so much for turning us onto this weird case. You are so incredibly awesome. And if we're still streaming when you wrap up, feel free to come on back.
All right. Thank you
We'd
for the
love to have you
invitation,
here.
guys. It's good to see you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Megan. Everybody go to Megan Fox, not the thumbs, the other one, and subscribe. And Steve, how long do we have you for?
Well, like I said, I put in a leave slip just so I can be with you.
I'm like cutting into your vacation time?
Well, yeah, it's all right. But you know what? It's so much fun. I'm actually a work avoidance mode. I've been catching up.
The reason I ask is your compatriot Andrew Branca will be visiting us 45 minutes from now to talk about the Adam Baldwin shooting. So,
okay. Well,
feel free to stay around as long as you want.
I'll stay out for 45 minutes and then we'll hand it off to Andrew. You see,
or stay here with him because like I talk way too much, and like when Andrew and Steve get together, I just like sit down and shut up. It's like amazing.
No. He's brilliant. Actually, we're going to interview on Andrew's show at I think 1 o'clock.
That's why he only had until 11 a.m. his time.
Right. Yeah, we've got an interview with two attorneys. He's been covering this self-defense immunity hearing out of St. Augustine, which is my jurisdiction, and he's going to interview the two defense attorneys in that. That is really cool. It's these guys are excellent attorneys. I don't know if you watch any of this, but it's Patrick Cannon and Dan Hilbert out of St. Augustine. It's really one of the best firms in St. Augustine, the St. John's area. And they just crushed it. Got a stand your ground immunity. And much to see. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I'll take off an hour here because hopefully y'all will buy some more books. I don't know. Oh, yeah, there he's got it right there. Look, here we'll buy the book, right? Look, I've even got it dog-eared. I use this as my own reference. Isn't that funny?
Because mine's getting pretty worn out too, because I'm like always reading it. I'm reading it in the bathtub, and the dogs chewed on a little bit, and we're doing a lot of good
reference. It's a good reference, but anyway,
it is.
I would think that I don't know, where was we going with that? Now you got me interrupted by Grift. I came on because I'm going to grip, but also I'm avoiding work. I've been working for the last 2 weeks trying to catch up, and I've got this biggest.
Did I just say Adam Baldwin? I didn't say Adam Baldwin, did I?
Yes, there's Alec and Adam.
I didn't say Adam, did I?
I don't know.
I hope I didn't, because that would be like
we know what you're talking about.
R-worded of me. But yeah. So anyway, this guy, he's like arrested. He's already under arrest. He's awaiting sentencing. He's got an ankle monitor on him because he's been trying to flip Andy Warhol paintings on eBay. Fake Andy Warhol paintings on eBay. Who does that to begin with? But yet,
well, I think we could have at least one person that might be doing it.
yeah, there's at least one. So he's bought all of these things. He's bought all of these like things that you would use to get rid of a body supply.
All right. Well, again, let's get to the hard evidence. I mean, I must say, if I'm going to go full conspiracy, which I'm fully on board with, or I'm ready to go with a conspiracy theory, but we need to have a good conspiracy explanation for every bit of hard evidence.
Yeah.
All right. So we've already explained away the Google searches are the easiest thing to fake.
Yeah, you can fake those.
We could also fake the purchasing of the cleaning supplies, which is a very damning bit of evidence, but we could fake that also. So Mr. Vices, what evidence do you have that Mr. Husband actually did it minus the conspiracy?
Well, let's look at what they do claim to have. Video surveillance allegedly caught him making several trips to dumpsters. They can't say caught him making several trips to. It's not clear. Allegedly caught him making several trips to dumpsters in the region, including a January 3rd trip to an apartment complex in Abington, where Bellin said surveillance video showed a man matching BRIAN WALSHE's description getting out of a Volvo with a bag that appeared heavy, and he had a hefted into the dumpster.
Well, here's some fact checking things we need to do on this. All right.
Yeah.
Well, see, boy, you want to go full conspiracy tinfoil hat. I would say, I want to see those videos. I want to see how good is it. Now, we could always, if we're the CIA, we could get somebody that looks pretty darn close to him to do these activities. Then we have to get a car that is similar to his car. And if we are the government, we could definitely fake a license plate, right? So again, I'm skeptical. I think that there's a conspiracy theory to be had here.
But is it because these two people from parts unknown made the Secret Service look like complete idiots, or what would be the motivation for faking him as the party responsible for this?
Well,
for deleting his wife.
Who better, if we want to get rid of her, who better to frame up as the alleged killer than her husband?
It's always the husband.
It's always the husband. So if I'm the dreaded deep state people, and I want to set somebody up, who better?
Yeah, that's legitimately, whenever anyone goes missing, it's always a significant other as the first person you look at.
Suspect, right? So you play to the preconceived notions, which we all have, and I have it, I would say. So I'm still not 100% convinced that the deep state hasn't executed a person they want to get out of the way, who has information that they want to cover up.
And I like conspiracy theories as much as the next guy does. Like good ones, good solid ones that are based. And if you're gonna like delete someone and chop them up and put them in trash bags and throw them in dumpsters, which are headed to incinerators, this is the thing. In that transition station, Bellin said there were 10 trash bags that give the case its hardest evidence. It doesn't take 10 trash bags to hide a body. That to me seems like overkill. Like, pardon the pun, but yeah, that's like going a few trash bags too many. If you got the guy like on video going around to 10 different dumpsters with 10, you don't even have 10 limbs.
Here's my question though. There is a hacksaw, a hatchet, and cutting shears recovered from the trash bags. Is there DNA on those things? If there's blood and DNA on those things, then that's one thing, right? But if there's not, then why is there no DNA on these items that were tossed?
Well, many of these items contain stains consistent with blood, Ellen said, adding that DNA testing revealed that's just what the stains were, and that Brian and Anna Walsh were bloody contributors.
Bloody killer.
And see, I mean, she is like, yeah, dude is he's punching way above his weight here with her.
Yeah, I hear that she was quite a competent person. She wasn't just a pretty face, but my understanding is that she was quite an impressive person as far as intellect, as a mother. She had everything going on for her, which is really a tragedy. I mean, we're making fun here, but it's a complete tragedy because she's just one of these people that's got a lot of cards that were given to her. And she's been, look, she had a beautiful life. She's writing nice notes to her husband. Ugh.
Well, Heather, that's not the one. That's not the one I wanted to click on. My motor skills are somewhat impaired at this point. I wanted to click on this one. I thought the evidence of her COVID vax card was in the garbage was odd. Yeah, in one of the bags, they found her COVID vax card, which is just kind of a random thing.
Maybe she knew about the CIA operation in China to create the COVID virus, and so now she's. Yeah, see, that's what the three people were here bringing over little vials to infect the world. You like my conspiracy? I'm trying to come up with the wackiest conspiracy I can come up with, right? But I mean, it's tough. Yeah, at some point your conspiracy has to snap and it has to go back. Okay, enough evidence. But it sucks. FBI, I'm talking to you. Federal government people, I'm talking.
Don't watch my stream, feds. Watch his. Don't watch mine.
No, but why? They have just destroyed their credibility playing partisan politics. It is sick. As an American, as a believer in this country, these people are supposed to protect our country, and they're playing partisan politics, getting on board. It's being weaponized against half the country. I can't think of a worse thing. I mean,
Steve, all joking aside, Steve, like seriously, like all legal vices, Steve Gosney joking aside, isn't it? I mean, horrifically tragic that we are even entertaining this scenario as a joke.
It is a tragic thing. I mean, and that is, I'm being completely serious here.
Yeah.
What was done in the whole Russia BS that we had 2 impeachments out of that was completely manufactured by the deep state. I mean, that is a fact that happened. And we don't even want to really confront the reality that is a fact. It's so horrific to us as Americans to think that our federal agencies had been weaponized against the choice of the people. At least half the population voted for this president, right? And then they took these. Who are these people? These bureaucrats who were never elected by anybody, who don't have to say, who gets basically completely got away with it. It is an evil that's being visited on this country, and every good American needs to just be completely against what was done. And there needs to be accountability. There needs to be some truth and right, but there's not. And that's why it's an ongoing problem. And therefore, that's why when we're looking at something else, we're seeing it all over the place. I'm not a conspiracy nut. I'm not. I've never been one. But this thing, it's like you got to face reality. And the fact is that and it's hard for even to think. When you say it, it sounds stupid. But these deep state agencies in the federal government manufactured this whole Russian collusion narrative that paralyzed our government for 2.5, 3 years and resulted in 2 impeachments against the sitting president. It was a complete and utter lie, partisan lie that was supported. So it's okay. It's partisan. It was just the Democrats. It was a warfare, but it was supported by these federal agencies that are paid by my taxpayer dollars, and your taxpayer, every American's tax. We were funding this. It's sick. Yeah, well, this is, and we can get into Nixon.
Well, everyone, thank you for supporting my channel. It was nice knowing you all. Talk to you later. No, I'm
what's that?
seriously.
There's a knock on the door. Excuse me, I gotta go a second.
I've been remiss in my super chats here. Here for the truth says, "Hey Jeff, it's me. Your H2O, please." Unfortunately, I have 3 bottles of liquor near me, but no water. Sorry.
Ooh.
Next, Corn Pop. Thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. Popcorn, great. Thank you so much. Pooh Zerker says Brian should have washed his tracks better. Washed. Justin Wright catching up. This guy did not watch the Chandler Halderson trial, I guess. Yeah, you got to be really careful how you dismember a corpse. Renee Mite says if none of your viewers have read WikiLeaks Vault 7, they should read through it. The murder is dirty from DC, just saying. I don't know what that means, but that could be something interesting to look into over my 4-day holiday weekend here in Korea. It's the Lunar New Year, so I'm off until Wednesday.
How many drinks have you had so far?
Why am I slurring that bad already?
No, I'm just curious now that this was brought up.
Well, I've had some very, very strong cocktails. I would guess probably about 8 shots and then a double Manhattan and then 2 shots of Lafroig. So probably like 12 or 13.
You're the most coherent drunk I've ever seen. Are you really drunk? Do you feel it right now? Or are you?
I'm getting there. That's the problem. I have to be really, really, really intoxicated to have any of my tells and things. But that's the problem because I'm like, no, I'm really drunk. Guys are like, no, you haven't even started drinking. You're not drunk. And I'm like, no, I'm way drunker than you guys are. I'm just not showing it. And they keep feeding me, so it gets worse. But yeah, like my first tell is my lips go numb.
Okay.
And they're kind of tingly right now, I must admit.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I need to leave.
my slurring his words.
I got tingly lips.
Man, she ran off with the money from the rent scam, faked her death.
I like that. That's another good.
There is no body.
Good experience. There's another anything.
Yeah. These 3 are the dream team. Sorry, Megan, you weren't here to hear that.
Megan.
But
Megan is so great. I love her.
Oh, you two are so awesome. I just can't get over how awesome you two. Like so, the other morning when I was watching you two talk about this, I was just thinking, like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, I know.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I didn't believe it. And I'm talking to Megan after, and she's like, no, here's the documents. You need to be here Friday because we're talking about this. And I'm so glad you popped in because I assumed you'd be working, so I didn't send you.
Well, I'm supposed to be, but I'm taking off for an hour just for giggles because Vice has asked me, and my 2 favorite people, Megan Fox.
Wait, you have to submit paperwork to take an hour off work?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's like all official and shit.
Well, they'll nail me. That's like you're not at work, Gosney. You're like, so I got to submit my form that says I'm off this hour, so don't get me in trouble.
Wow. Legendary Racing says, just finished my 2-week sentence as Steve the Sheep God. Oh, you were Steve the Sheep God. Okay. FYI, it's still a sheep, and Steve still did it. Justice for Brian.
Yes. It's a sheep.
Right.
It's a sheep, not a goat.
Do not question how my goat identifies.
The goat identifies as a sheep.
My goat identifies as a goat. Cheryl Magdalena Legal Vices. I just subbed to Megan's channel. Looking forward to checking out. Megan is so funny. She does such a great job reporting. She like her sense of humor and mine are exactly at the same level.
And you know why? They hate her is because
why do people hate her?
Oh yeah. You know why people hate her? I'll tell you.
No, I clearly don't.
Let me tell you something, son. It's because she verifies her reporting. She's an excellent reporter. She does the hard work, the boots on the ground kind of stuff, right? And she's fast, and so she beats to the media to their narrative. Because what the media likes to do is get the BS out into the sphere and beat everybody to the story and frame the narrative. Hello, frame
I'm here.
I'm here. You're. Oh,
I'm here. Go ahead.
Oh my God! I think we lost Vices.
No, I'm here.
Are you rolling around on the floor? Do we need to call any emergency vehicles to your location?
Nope, I'm good. Continue.
Okay. No, so she's fast and she's accurate. And so she puts out the story the way it should be, and she gets it up there like the same day within the 24-hour news cycle, right? And you can rely on when she's reporting, so she does not report stuff that she doesn't find and verify, and her writing is excellent. And so the media hates that because they want to get out there and frame the narrative, and they want then the people that are out there who are the pajama media people come in, and they've already framed the narrative. So when you've got another story, you're just another story, right? But if you can rely on somebody like Megan, you can get the facts up front. And then when the media tries to spin it, it's like, oh, that's spin and garbage. So,
yeah, I was actually just reaching over there for something completely unrelated. One of these,
maybe?
No, one of these. If you know things. My newest acquisition.
Oh, there,
gold plated.
Do you really need gold plated? Can you tell a difference? Well,
my old cables are literally 25 years old, and you plug them in, it's just so we're going for some gold plated. These just arrived today. So
I got some new cables from Rattlesnake Cable Company.
And you're talking about my gold plated things. Those rattlesnake things are hundreds of dollars.
They're great, man. They're awesome.
This was like $60.
Okay.
Those rattlesnakes are like $500 for a cable. Go to crimelaw.net and support his cable habit.
This proves to you that I am a lawyer and not a musician.
Those rattlesnake cables are expensive, dude.
Oh, but
they're so good.
Not only are they good, that guy, man, he is like Mr. He is Mr. Customer Service. It's like I ask him, he sends me a little video saying I'm working on your cable, and then he says, what are you using this for? And he like, well, okay, I'm using this for a pedal board connection. He's like, okay, well, here's what I'd recommend on the design on the ends. And since it was like so high touch, I was like, wow, this guy is freaking great.
Wait, you're not buying off the shelf rattlesnake. You're buying custom rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Forget everything I said about them being $500 for a set of cables and multiply that by several magnitudes.
You know what you say. I got some nice guitars though. You know, they got to have nice cables. I'm working on getting my pedal board completely like in operation. That
I don't believe in pedals. Like my old Ibanez Les Paul ripoff.
Yeah.
One of 500 ever produced before they got their ass sued. It's got these beautiful like 35-year-old pickups. They're so gorgeous. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this, but now you're like, yeah, nice $70 cables. I got my rattlesnake customs coming. All right, now forget everything I just said for 5 minutes. And let's go.
Well, you know why I can afford my rattlesnake cables? Because you're chatters. You've got the best legal prices.
How can you afford it?
Because people are buying. Actually, see, I don't have any. This is all my play money. If you want to see Steve happy and playing, it comes from my book grift. Because go to crimelaw.net, the only place on the internet you can buy my book. Because the thing is that I must say, the wife has all my salary money budgeted.
Oh no.
So the only way I get to buy anything fun for me is through my book grift. So this is the so your supports me directly and doesn't go into
all right. We've got 874 people watching us now, and probably like 873 of them have no idea what we're talking about right now.
We're off in La La Land.
Steve is one of the most amazing people you'll ever meet in your entire life. He works with death penalty appellate cases in the state of Florida for the public defender's office. He's assistant public defender. He does some amazing cases. The case we were talking about the other day, the Sarah Boone suitcase murders, I wanted him to come on and talk about it, but he can't, because if it goes to appeal, there's a very good chance he's going to get that appeal. This is how much of a mover and shaker Stephen N. Gosney is. And if you want to get one of the coolest books you'll ever read in your entire life, Ideas and Answers in Law by Stephen N. Gosney, with a foreword by Andrew Branca, who will be joining us in about 30 minutes from now.
And on the
back. On the back set.
Yes. Well, yeah, the crimelaw.net is the only place you can get it in the world from me directly, personalized to you, not some corporate shill. Not some Amazon Browns and Noble grift. This is like the real deal. You know, they want. I did all the work. I did all the publishing, the cover, the writing, the page layout, the book design, everything except the printing, which went up to, and it's like, and at the Amazon, they say, do you want to sell my book? Oh, Amazon wants to sell my book. And they're telling me they want to take like 90% of the money. I'm like, I'm not selling that many books. Come on. You're
Malcolm
taking
Wilhelm. Malcolm Wilhelm. He ships internationally.
I do ship internationally.
He ships internationally, Malcolm. That ain't no excuse. Get over there to crimelaw.net and buy his book. He is not exclusively in domestic shipping.
And it's also
no, Branca he's going to join us 31 minutes from now.
Excellent. Well, yeah, we're tag teaming here, everybody. But also it's also available electronically for Kindle download. And I don't understand all that stuff. So if you want to do that, it's actually a little less expensive. ISBN services basically volunteered to do that for me for free. So I put it up there. It's available, especially international people, because it costs a lot of money to ship a book internationally. But you can download it. You can get it in there's 3 different electronic formats. And if you know that stuff, that was so funny. She's sweet and crazy.
And I hold the record for grifting the most books for Stephen N. Gosney in a single day. Totally destroying Nick Recada's record of a mere 40 books with 54 books I grifted for this man in
4 hours. Of course, part of that you got me drunker than I've ever been drunk in my entire life. We had to cut it off. Yes, I've never drank that much in my whole life. And my wife,
and it was before noon.
It was ridiculous. You've got the iron liver. Corn Pope, I'm going to get you. If you don't get it next week, Corn Pope, I will send you another copy personally on my own dollar, because I love Corn Pope.
Let me burn through these last 2 things here. JSD says legal advice, but saying if he was remodeling, then all of these charges would make sense. But saying remodeling project or doing some restoration work somewhat covers the hard evidence they have, but there's no evidence they were actually remodeling the apartment. Did I miss the Rust shooting coverage? No, we're going to start that in about 3 minutes from now. You're just in time, Marv.
Which I haven't finished my grifts. Can I grift one more thing? I got
as soon as I get like 2 things here. Alan just dropped in. Alan is now starting his 1 month vacation. So hey, thank you so much, man. Alan.
You guys
just dropped in.
Your chat is amazing.
I got a shot for you, Alan. Enjoy your 1 month vacation. Enjoy your 1 month vacation. Thank you to be this. Oh, this is just a giant batch of Evan Williams rot gut bourbon.
Oh man.
Thank you, Alan. And our very last thing, Lowlands Angie, our newest member of the Clean and Sober crew. And I'm going to turn this over to Steve, because now I have broken the seal and Steve has complete control of his grift for the next 30 seconds.
Well, it's not that much of a grift. Oh, wait, he disappeared. Oh, man. Well,
I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back.
Okay, you can go to the bathroom. Yeah, you're drinking like a skunk. I will say that go to Crime Law with Stephen N. Gosney on Rumble. There's some interview. Farmhand Tom. Does anybody know Farmhand Tom in the chat? I love the chat. Tell me, chat. If you know Farmhand Tom, he is a really neat guy and a funny guy. He's the one with the smellinator, like the spray that does the smell. Anyways, he interviews me because I tried to interview Farmhand Tom because he's such a neat guy. And then every time I talked to him, he kept turning the tables on me. And so there's a 3-part interview between me and Farmhand Tom. The first part, he talks all about heavy metal and music and my musical journeys. And then at the end of that first part, we start talking about my new book and some of the ideas for my new book. And then the second part 2, which is also posted up there, we talk about my second book, which I'm working on, and hopefully my computer will get repaired. Oh my God, it's been 2 weeks. It's been down, and I don't know whether my book has been disintegrated or not. But if you go to Crime Law with Stephen N. Gosney, my Rumble channel, you can look at those interviews, and there's lots of content. Scroll back. I've interviewed a lot of neat people, a lot of the chat people that we have here that are in the chat. I try to.
And 1 week from today, he's interviewing me.
Yes. Well, if my computer's back, my computer has been down for 2 weeks.
We'll work on it somehow.
So yeah, I'm going to Rockville too. That's the thing. Where I'm going to the two weekends. Welcome to Rockville and Daytona. I'm going to go see Tool and Pantera.
Are you going to meet up with Steph, the Ultra Nerd? Have you guys talked about that at all?
She's supposed to send me an invite. I might head over to Tampa. She's going to have a meet and greet, so I might take the wife. There's a really great steakhouse called Burns Steakhouse. You ever heard of Burns Steakhouse?
Not me.
It's one of the top steakhouses in the world. It's when it's ranked top 10 steakhouses in the world. Burns is in there, and it's in Tampa, and it is phenomenal. Oh my God, the steak tartare.
See, that's it. Koreans just like the raw beef. They love it, and they put just a ton of garlic and then sesame oil on top and just mix it up. Oh, it's so good.
So I might go over to shoot over to Tampa and do the meet and greet with Steph if she'd invite you. We're supposed to hook up, and of course, Alter Bridge is going to be on the Pantera Day at Welcome to Rockville. So maybe Steph will come over and hang in Daytona.
Tool and Pantera. I'm jealous, says Eva Torres. Yeah, I'm just jealous because I'm like over here. Like Brian Adams came on the Thursday, like 2 weeks ago.
Cuts like a knife.
Across the country. Like I'm in Busan. It's up in Seoul. It's like 3 hours away. There's no way I could have gone to it.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. Well, this is an interesting thing. Like I was going to do this at the beginning, but I forgot. Yeah. Oh, and Marv, by the way, you were asking. While I was like going to the bathroom, I was processing what you said. The ALEC Baldwin stuff is happening in 25 minutes when Andrew Branca gets here. Okay. We got like 25 minutes to do the University of Idaho stuff, but it's probably going to be 20 minutes by the time I stop telling this irrelevant story. 3 years ago today, Korea implemented their "you must wear masks at all times" policy. Korea has always been a very like Korea and Japan and probably China are very mask oriented cultures anyway.
Right.
It's just a common courtesy thing. It's always been this way. If you have a cold, if you have the flu, if you have a cough, you always wear a mask to reduce the possibility of transmitting it to someone else. So masks have always been a thing in Korea. Always. It's a polite thing to do. If you get a cold, if you get sick, whatever, you put on a mask. So you try to reduce the possibility of spreading it to other people. But 3 years ago today, Korea implemented their "you must wear masks at all times" indoor and outdoor policy because of COVID. And January 19th, literally yesterday in history, one day before the whole world went to shit, I checked off one of my bucket list boxes, by attending the Queen concert in Seoul and watching Brian May play right in front of me.
Wow.
Brian May, one of the greatest guitarists that's ever lived, ridiculously underrated.
Well, and a very smart guy. You know, he is actually a PhD in astrophysics.
Astrophysics, yeah. And he's been the president of a university. And yeah, I had stage side seats. I didn't give a shit about Roger Taylor and Adam, what's his nuts. I was there to watch Brian May, a legit guitar god, play his guitar.
John Deacon, on the bass was a beast. People underrate John Deacon as a bass player.
Yeah, but he just like went, "I'm done. Freddie died. I have no reason to ever make music again. I'm out."
I know.
And he stayed out.
But you know, he was a big influence on a buddy of Tony Franklin. You ever heard of Tony Franklin?
Yes.
Tony Franklin was influenced by him. Tony Franklin's, he's a bud of mine.
Oh no, wow.
I'll tell you,
name dropper.
I'm just name dropping. When I'm talking about cool, and I don't know how much how much of this is just because I pay him to talk to me. but actually, Tony Franklin. I mean, does anybody know who Tony Franklin is? I wonder if the chat does. Let's just put it. See, that guy, if he lived the dream, because I got into Zeppelin right as Bonham died, and Zeppelin's like my number one band. And then I'm like, oh man, so I'm following Jimmy Page. And then what's the first thing that like Jimmy Page really comes out and does was The Firm. And so I pick up The Firm first album and I'm like waiting to listen to Jimmy Page. And of course I'm a bass player and I'm like, who the hell is this bass player? The bass playing that's like the shine. That is the thing is the bass playing. And I'm like, who is this guy? He's a fretless guy, the fretless monster. And he's all over the Firm records and he makes it It's just unbelievable. So if
did Money come out before or after Pink Floyd?
Money came out, that was way before.
That was Money was way before.
Yeah. No, but the thing about
Tony,
that
had some sick bass too.
Well, here, I'll give you a little interesting tidbit. Tony Franklin, so he's the first bass player to play with Jimmy Page in a band situation. He kind of got Jimmy Page back in the arena. But also, he turned down the bass playing gig in Pink Floyd.
That's why I was asking that.
Yeah.
I was trying to like set it like how the time frame worked out in my head. But yeah, I mean that is like so amazingly awesome. I can't remember why we're talking about that.
Somebody's saying Geddy Lee. This person says, "Do I appreciate Geddy Lee?" Vices. Come on, educate your chat.
Go to Steve N. Gosney. What's your Rumble?
It's
I never remember your Rumble.
Crime Law with Stephen N. Gosney.
Crime Law with Stephen N. Gosney. He's done like 2 bass riffs, like not riffs. He's done like 2 entire bass playings of Rush songs just for me. I'm a huge Rush head.
The one I'm really proud of that I think came out the best was La Villa Strangiato. So I play La Villa Strangiato straight through on bass, which is quite a challenge, including the little bass solo, which is like I had to really work on. So if you want to see some Gosney playing bass and Rush and Geddy Lee, to me, it's like Geddy Lee, Steve Harris, and Sting in the Police. Those were my 3 favorite bass players. And then secondarily, I would put Tony Franklin. The guy, what's his Taylor from Duran Duran is also a great bass player.
I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, you don't realize how good he is. That guy is really smoking.
No, see, like bass players are like the sound and light crew. Like you don't know how good they are until they screw up.
That's true.
And I mean that's the thing. Like everybody hates Rush. Like, oh, Geddy Lee's overrated. And what? Have you read his book?
Yes,
he wrote about the history of the bass.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Love
I mean, it's like this guy has played bass for 50 years. Like, okay, I'm retired. I have nothing to do. I should probably learn about this instrument I've been playing for 50 years. And now I think he has the largest bass collection in like human history. But anyhow, my ADHD has got us like way off track here. Fondin says, Steven, are you going to Rockville so I might get to meet you?
Definitely. I'll be there from Saturday and Sunday. And check it out, definitely.
And Jim Sattel says, Steve, what's the deal with sentencing in Florida? Someone got 30 months for DUI, and they're making her serve the entire 30 months. No day 4 in Florida. I don't know what that means. Perhaps.
Sentencing in Florida is very complex. It's probably like when you're doing criminal law, one of the really tricky things is sentencing law, and that's something as an appellate lawyer I'm always looking at. There's an 80, I think it's 80%. You have to serve 80% of your sentence in Florida. So if you get 8 years, you got to serve at least 7. I think that's right. No, if you serve 10 years, you got to serve at least 8. There's a good one. I'm not math. So you
lawyers can't do math. That's just a fact.
So you have to do the majority of your sentence in Florida. Yes. There's no like
I didn't. You said 80% or 75%?
80.
Wow. So okay, so that's like 5. Like normally it's 75%. So Florida's like done extra.
Yeah, and then they have min-mans, which are like, for example, day for day. So if you get convicted of say something with a 3-year min-man, that's 3-year day for day. You don't get credit, which is it's pretty ridiculously harsh. I mean, some of the things like what he's talking about, Florida can be very harsh in sentencing.
Yeah. Geomancy says, gifting for myself, been fighting cancer. Oh, fuck. You guys have been such a blessing in my life, and Rakeda and Govea have been huge inspirations to me, man. Seriously, Geomancy, cheers to you. Get over that. Blessing for you. We're at a time in history when we have the greatest medical technology, the greatest medical advancements we've ever had. Best wishes for you. Keep fighting the good fight. If you're religious, God bless you. Get on God's good side. Do things. May his blessings be upon you. And if you're not, whatever universal powers and energies that are out there, I hope you get them all.
Yeah. My mom has been fighting breast cancer, but she's actually doing great. She's got one more chemo treatment to do. And we just went out to lunch the other day. She took me out to lunch. She's 88 and she drove me to pick me up, and we drove to lunch. So she's really doing good.
She's like one of these drivers, like the ghost drivers. You can't see anybody behind the wheel. You see like knuckles on the steering wheel.
No, not at all.
No, good. She's a good driver.
She's a great driver. She's very active. She's an amazing woman. I'm trying.
Well, people are asking about the website. It's crimelaw.net for this amazing ideas and answers in law book, and Crime Law with Stephen N. Gosney on Rumble.
Yes, I'm going to work on a new website because I'm going to work on something new because when I get my next book out, it's going to be huge. But this one here is like 8 works of my life and all of my work. And I think the people, even non-lawyers, are enjoying it. I mean, they're really saying it's written like, I try to work real hard to talk simply and directly to the peoples. The peoples. Well, what was that?
Yeah.
Batman.
No, this is not a book for lawyers. This is a book for laymen to understand what the law is all about. This is incredibly readable. It's incredibly understandable. And as Steve likes to say, it doesn't just present problems, it presents you with answers. It's a roadmap. If something goes seriously wrong in your life, this is a roadmap you can use. Highly recommendable. And I know, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that it's designed. So many people that think they're smart use a lot of big words and make complex things like I don't know. They use big words to try to conceal what they're saying, and it's like, because they don't really have it worked out. They're not really thinking through things. They're not really clear, and they just want to feel like they're smart rather than actually trying to solve things and communicate and be. So I'm against that philosophically. I really think that if it's unclear, that's my problem. And I try to work and be as clear as possible. And I've had lots of good, the feedback. And this is the thing. This is why it's so happy to be here in internet world, because I got to go back. Oh, look at your dog back there. He's so cute.
Oh,
so you got dogs.
That's a little
we got
strawberry.
She's devices. This is like happy, And
Castro 42. Can we talk about Baldwin now, please? Please, no. You have to wait for 16 more minutes.
I'm holding down the fort for Branca, boss Branca, man.
So we've got 16 minutes to talk about what's going on in Idaho right now, which we probably should, I think, because I've been promising that. What's happening in Idaho, there's not a whole lot, but there's a couple of stories. Maybe Steve wants to comment on these real quick here. Where are we at here? One story is that BRYAN KOHBERGER has visited the restaurant where 2 of the victims worked. They try to make this sound really nefarious, like, oh, he was there in the restaurant. In the weeks before the slayings last November, the man now accused of killing them allegedly ate at the restaurant where 2 of the victims worked. According to former employee of the Mad Greek restaurant in Moscow, BRYAN KOHBERGER came in at least twice to grab vegan pizza. 2 of the victims, Madison and Zana, were servers at the restaurant. Now, again, this is a really tiny community. Moscow is about 10,000 people, and 10 miles away is Pullman, Washington, which is also a small town. Literally, I don't put much stock in this because it's a small town. It's sort of like a Twin Cities thing, but on a much smaller scale. There's not a lot of non-fast food restaurants in the places. So if you want something really good, something you can cater to your weird vegan diet, there's not a lot of options. So I'm not putting too much into this, but like I said, he came in at least twice to grab a vegan pizza. That's kind of a different order.
Isn't it strange that an alleged mass murderer would be a vegan? Isn't there sort of an inherent contradiction there?
Well, it's like Bill Burr says with like the Washington sniper, like the freeway sniper guys several years ago when they turned out to be like black. He's like, yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming, did you? Because it's always the white middle-class conservative male that does it. But this is some weird vegan dude. Allegedly.
I don't know what's happening.
So it's unclear if either woman ever waited on KOHBERGER or if they even interacted. But people, which is obviously a great site, like an obviously a classic trusted source of news and information. People magazine.
This is what people call. I think they're starved for stories at this point.
Yeah.
See, that's what's happening. Is that the media
literally
now,
nothing is going to happen.
Nothing's happening, and so they're trying to create something. No, we got to write something on the Idaho killer story. So it's like, okay, You're right. I mean, that's why, I mean, I like somebody like Megan Fox, because she gives you stuff that means something. She filters it for substance, and she doesn't just report stuff. Like, she's not under some deadline that she has to report on something. You got to get a story out. I'm on the copy desk. You need a story on that ideal killer page 1 tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
It's,
I mean, this is the interesting thing, though, Steve. It's like, Peoples confirmed via an investigator familiar with the case that law enforcement is aware of the restaurant visits and that investigators have interviewed employees and owners of the Mad Greek. They also collected surveillance video from the restaurant and surrounding businesses. But like, so what? He ordered pizza, but that's where the two worked. But it also, they remember him because Kohlberger would check to make sure that his food had not come into contact with animal products.
Yeah, Joseph in the chat says Hitler was a vegetarian. Yes, at the end of his life, he was. He loved his dogs. He was an animal lover, and he did not know that. He was a strict vegetarian at the end of his life. Yeah,
I did not know that.
It's kind of
anyone to blow their vegetarianism would lead anyone to blow their brains out in a bunker.
Give you some bacon, a big pile of bacon, and be happy.
Seriously. But like, people are saying that he was also involved with the Instagram and other social media with 3 of the 4 victims, with the 3 women victims. He was slipping into their DMs. So, I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing. He wasn't a complete stranger to him.
All it shows is connection. I mean, it's not nefarious. And see, part of the thing people are trying to do, and one of the people we're so interested in these type murders, is because we're trying to figure out how to protect ourselves, right? There's a defensive, there's sort of that, okay, when the caveman, the caveman went to the lake, the big alligator snapped his head off, right? So don't go next to the lake without looking for alligators, right? So we're trying to figure out the danger. It's our sort of primal danger sense. But the thing is that it's frightening, but by the grace of God go I. If somebody really wants to whack you, there's really not much you can do about it. And sometimes there's people like that just want to kill. They enjoy killing. Let's assume that they're just normal, completely normal. Everything about them is normal otherwise, but they have this innate desire to kill and to see people die at their hands. And everything else about them is normal. Well, it's like, how can we discern that? How are you ever going to discern that? It's somebody, that's what they really want, and that's what their desire, and they cover that up. Of course, they're not going to broadcast that generally, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's hard for people to understand evil like that. And it's hard for, I mean, I think I was talking to Megan Fox about this on her show, about there's sort of a cliff, I say a cliff of darkness that I can rationalize it. Okay, I recognize this is what's going on. Somebody enjoys killing, and they're normal otherwise, but they have this thing about them, this evil in them. But you can rationalize it, but it doesn't make any sense. You're like, how can somebody actually want to kill and enjoy it? It's so bizarre, but yet there are people out there like that. So,
sure,
it's that rubbernecking, like how, don't get in a car or get killed in a car accident, right? Well, nobody wants to get killed in a car accident, but we die all the time in car accidents. Why is that? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. And as we look at this is interesting. Like there's
you're drunk.
As you look at this, right? No.
You're right, buddy. I love you.
I'm trying to segue. I'm trying to find a segue into the search warrant. I'm not drunk. I'm just trying to segue into the search warrant.
You're funny. Oh man, I love your show.
No, there's a search warrant here, and I want to get to it in the last 7 minutes before Branca shows up.
We went through the search warrant. There's not much in this, though. You got to scroll down to the end, and you can look.
Yeah, it's interesting because of what they're searching for, and see, this to me, this really feels like a fishing expedition. And as Steve can tell you, these search warrants are supposed to be highly specific. Like, what you're expected to get out of this search. But this search warrant is strangely vague and broad.
I don't agree.
No. You don't agree?
No.
Well, let's look at this. You have 10 days. Within 10 days, you're commanded to search for blood or other bodily fluid or human tissue or skin cells.
Let's back out. Okay, let's back out for a second. All right.
All right.
Assume that this guy is the prime suspect and he's the one we have probable cause. Okay, what would you want to search? I want to search his car, his apartment, and his place in Pennsylvania for any kind of DNA. I want to search his computers and his phones and any electronics for any kind of searches and stuff like that. And I want to search it for DNA from the victims, and I want to find out. So that's the surrounding and any kind of cleaning implements, planning ideas, things like that. Is that fair? That's a fair, limited, directed thing at his locations that he may frequent. Okay, and I think this warrant is tight. It's searching exactly for those things.
Oh, see, I gotta disagree with you, Steve.
All right,
I mean,
well,
look
tell
at
me
number
where.
2.
All
Look
right.
at number 2. You're ordered to collect knives, sheaths, sharp tools, including daggers, dirks, or dirks. Are we living in 1350? Dirks or swords and any written indicia. So does this mean you have to collect butter knives, steak knives?
Here's why. Because people think, okay, we know it's a K-bar because the K-bar sheath was left, but you cannot, as a matter of tool mark evidence, you cannot determine the style of weapon that was used. The weapon was not recovered. So we don't really know what the knife was used. And they can't say, oh, we're looking for a K-bar and a K-bar only. Well, what if it wasn't a K-bar? What if it was something else? So they're collecting all knifed, bladed weapons that may be the murder weapon.
But
next,
no, see, I'm going to hold it like any knives. Just, I mean, that you've got butter knives, steak knives, kitchen knives, K-bars, swords. I mean, like a dirk. When was the last time someone wielded a dirk outside of a Renaissance fair since about 1530?
Well, a dirk is a specific type of weapon, which is a straight bladed stabbing weapon. So it's a descriptive, it's a term of art.
It
describes a deadly certain type of knife. So what they're saying is they're looking for the murder weapon.
A shrimp knife. That's a knife. That falls within
you
knife.
can kill. Steak knives kill.
True. But so does this mean they have to ransack the entire Kohberger kitchen and literally take every single knife that is there with? That seems really vague and broad to me.
No, I don't agree.
But
I don't,
and I have to defer to you because this is literally what you do every day. So I have to defer to you.
Well, if you look at, want to see a broad warrant, look at the Trump warrant, the warrant on Mar-a-Lago. That is a broad fishing expedition warrant with no probable cause. This is very specific to a very specific crime. These people were killed with bladed weapons, so they're going to look for bladed weapons of any sort that can use to kill within his residences. How are you a lawyer?
How are you even a lawyer?
Well, he does admiralty law, so give him a break. Look for boats.
You got clothing,
with fishing nets.
DNA, like animal and human, like animal / dog DNA. What is a dog not an animal? Suddenly, I just don't like the way this is worded. But anyway, we've got more important things to worry about than Brian, because this is all speculation. This is all, there's not going to be a single new piece of evidence involved in this for at least the next year, because there's been an even broader gag order implemented against anybody, essentially anybody who has anything to do with this case, talking about anything that disparages the defendant, anything that calls into question the veracity of the evidence. Literally everyone who has anything with this case is locked down and shut up until the judge decides otherwise. So everything literally from here out until the judge decides otherwise is pure speculation. And rather than speculating about things that are non-existent, we need to get the master himself, law of self-defense, Andrew Branca, in chat.
Hand it
Welcome,
off,
sir.
man. Get back to work here. I took my
man. Steve,
Good.
before we get into the meat, sorry, Jeff, I'm going to hijack
wait.
the show for a second. Do you want to join me
Hijack
this afternoon for the Canaan law thing?
maybe I'm going to schedule my lunch around it. So,
Okay.
but I've got, like I said, I'm goofing off. I took off for an hour here this morning, and because I'm like, this is so much more fun than, you don't know the case that I'm dealing with right now. It's miserable. So I said, I'm just going to take off the morning because I got all these invites from Megan Fox and Legal Vices. And so I'm playing. So I'll try to come in. Thank you for the invite. I'll try to make it. We'll see. That is what he's talking about is we're going to interview the two lawyers, Patrick Canaan and Daniel Hilbert, who were phenomenal lawyers. I know up in St. Augustine, they're actually, I'm associated with them. I can't say they're really, but Pat Cannon. Oh, let me tell you how cool Patrick Cannon is. Legal Vice is. Andrew, just close your ears for a second.
Well, while you're closing your ears, can you boost your mic about 33%, like about a third?
Me?
Yeah.
You're coming in really low for some reason.
That's
check. Better.
Okay.
So listen to this, Jeff. We had Patrick Cannon is a big fan of King Crimson. And have you heard of the California Guitar Trio? So actually, Patrick is, he knows he and I are both big King Crimson fans. And he had a private concert at his house with the guys from the California Guitar Trio. And he invited me. I got to sit right in his house, right in front of the guy, Burt Lambs and the California Guitar Trio. And he brought them in and had this concert in his house. It was the greatest thing ever. And I would say like Patrick Cannon to me is always going to be my hero. And then when I went to see King Crimson, I hadn't seen Patrick in a while, and he's there. He's right behind me. I'm like, hey, Patrick, hey, Cannon is there. And so we hang out. So he's really
Stephen Van Gosney, name dropper extraordinaire. And I'm just saying that because I'm really jealous. It
was so cool. Anyway, so okay, Andrew, you can
and Steve, I'll have to send you that check for having my book in the background of your video image there.
Do I have it in the back?
Oh yeah, there you go.
This one right here, you mean?
There it is, folks. Get it for free. lawselfdefense.com/free book.
No joke. Seriously, I would show you my copy of the book, but it is literally on the nightstand next to my bed. I read it when I go to sleep at night.
All right. And I'm going to hand it off to Andrew. You're in good hands with Andrew. And now I'm going to get off your, diverting your stream from all your wonderful stuff. Well, I really do have to get back to work. And this is vacation time for me. So I will.
Crimelaw.net. Buy that amazing book. And in a few minutes, Andrew Branca will be telling you about the courses you can take and his own stuff as we go. He has written also a forward to that book by our very own Law of Self-Defense.
It's one big incestuous ball here.
I'm just the guy that is fostering the incest in this crew. I'm just the vehicle that fosters all of the incest here.
All right. Well, thank you, chat, and
thanks,
Corn
Steve.
Pope. I'm reaching out to you. You know what to do. And Andrew, I'll try to make it at 1. But everybody got to tune in to Andrew's interview because it was a great. That was so cool that he picked that up, and I can't wait to hear from Patrick and Dan. So, all right, talk to you later, guys.
Take care, Steve.
Take care, Steve. Deeply appreciate you being here. All right, before we get into this, we got just to clear 2 quick things. Corn Pop says you are commanded. Yeah, that's the wording they use with the search warrant things. You're commanded to do things. And Joseph D. Martino, you've been a member for 2 months of the Clean and Sober crew. During OJ, I heard the radio caller say, I don't see how anyone could do that. And the host answered, well, somebody did it. Could have been OJ. That's a really random chat, but thank you very much for that really random chat. Oh, all right. We've got a $5 super chat from Dragon's Treasure. Alec accused of self-defense against someone who upset him. I'm pretty sure it's in chapter 3 of the book or something. Dragon's Treasure tea. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to getting my recent tea because I'm getting thirsty. Thank you so much. But right now we've got Andrew Branca, who is severely time limited because he's one of the busiest people I know. He's got an amazing thing going. He's agreed to come here and talk about the Alec Baldwin shooting. Everything sort of came to a head yesterday, miraculously after 15, 16 months?
Yeah, 13 months. 13 months. I'll note that the day after the shooting, of course, we're talking about Alec Baldwin shooting cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead on the movie set of low-budget Western. Rust was the name of the movie out in New Mexico. The day after, immediately when this happened, everyone was talking about what a tragic accident this is. And of course, it is tragic, but it was no accident. The day after the shooting, I said, well, maybe it's an accident. But when a gun's involved, it's rarely a genuine accident. This could well be manslaughter. 3 days later, I did a detailed legal analysis. This is manslaughter every day of the week, twice on Sunday. And there's been nothing over the last 13 months to change that opinion. And yesterday morning, the local prosecutor in New Mexico finally came around to agreeing with yours truly and charged Alec Baldwin with 2 counts of manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter.
Well, and how do you feel about it? So it's a weird question is how do you feel about that? But
Well, he still has
justified,
escape valves,
unjustified,
you know.
delayed. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, 13 months for this investigation. No, I mean, a few months to get the gun tested, I guess. Make sure you've talked to all the witnesses. Not all the relevant parties were present. Some people were involved, like in the chain of custody of the ammunition or the pistol prior to arriving in New Mexico. Maybe those people had to get, corralled into giving statements. But 13 months was a ridiculous period of time.
You're not Andrew Branca. You're random citizen Andrew Branca. How long until you're charged with this?
Yeah, maybe a week. Maybe.
That's very generous of you. I would say 48 hours myself.
Yeah, because the facts aren't really in dispute. I mean, the important facts are not contested. The important facts are that the gun that killed Helena Hutchins was in the hand of Alec Baldwin. He pointed the gun intentionally at her. He did not first ensure there was not live ammunition in the gun. The gun discharged and killed her. That's reckless manslaughter every day. And none of these other things they like to talk about change any of that.
I think you're being very generous with that. I end my analysis is he pointed a gun at someone and they got shot.
Yeah.
That's where
he intentionally did it. There's hypothetical scenarios in which it could be an accident. Like if he was transporting the gun in a locked box and he dropped the box and the gun went off and he didn't even know there was a gun in the box. I mean, that would be what an accident would look like. This is not an accident. Oh, you're muted. You muted yourself, Jeff.
Sorry. I was just saying,
okay.
and like fucking aliens come down from Mars and kidnap him and force him to. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a point when you just go, this is what happened. He pointed his gun at someone and they died.
Yeah. And so, I mean, to get to criminal liability, it's not enough that he was negligent. Negligence. So we have genuine accident, right? Let's go up the tier of states of mind that create different degrees of liability. You have genuine accident. A genuine accident would be like what I just described. The gun's in a box. Alec Baldwin's asked to carry a box from one side of the room to the other, doesn't even know there's a gun in it. And he trips and drops the box. The gun goes off and shoots somebody. There was no way that would have been foreseeable by him. That's a genuine accident. There would be literally zero liability, no civil liability, no criminal liability. We step up from there and we get to negligence. Negligence is where you didn't actually know you were creating a risk, but you should have known you were creating a risk. You were careless, in effect. But negligence only gets you to civil liability. It doesn't get you to criminal liability. You might get sued. You might have to pay a lot of money, but you're not going to prison. Recklessness is a higher mental state than negligence because with recklessness, you know or should know. It's legally presumed that you know that you're creating an unjustified risk of death to another person, and you do it anyway. And then someone dies as a result. And the classic example is drunk driving. You're at a bar, you get drunk, you get in your car to drive home. You're not intending to run anybody over. If you kill someone driving home, that's not a murder because there's no intent to kill that person. You just want to stagger your way home. But you know that driving a car drunk creates an unjustified risk of death to others. You ignore the risk, you do it anyway, and you manage to run over a pedestrian and kill him. That's recklessness. You knew you were creating an unjustified risk of death. You did it anyway. Death resulted. That creates criminal liability. That is reckless manslaughter, sometimes called involuntary manslaughter. Sometimes you'll see the phrase criminally negligent homicide. When they attach the word criminal to negligence, they're really talking about recklessness. They've bumped, it's not just negligence, it's criminal negligence. That just means recklessness. And a reckless killing is involuntary manslaughter, folks. That's all involuntary manslaughter is. And that's what Baldwin's been charged with appropriately in this case.
And I mean, that's the interesting thing about Korean law. Korean law, specifically in the criminal statutes, they differentiate between several levels of negligent death. You just have negligence resulting in death. And then you have a separate occupational negligence resulting in death. And I mean, it's the negligent homicide. And I guess we can get into it here. Let's bring up the charging documents. I think really, really are interesting in this, in what is said and what is not said.
So are the charging documents out? Because I didn't see them yesterday.
Not yet. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I meant the press release.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's sort of I've been getting that all day. No, they just said they're going to be charging. They haven't charged yet. They've effectively charged. They just need to file the paperwork at this point.
Right.
This is the press release from the district attorney.
Yeah, and I have to say they don't do a very good job of explaining it. they kind of mangle the legal terminology here. Like they make a reference to negligence when they're actually charging him with a crime. So that
and
they
it's
don't get it
weird
quite
that
right.
she releases this in third person.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, and they don't do a very good job. So they charged him with 2 counts of manslaughter, or they intend to charge him with 2 counts of manslaughter. And you may wonder, how could that be when only one person was killed? It's because there are alternative charges. So only one or the other can. Any jury or finder of fact is going to have to pick one. He's not going to be convicted of 2 counts of manslaughter, and they differ because one of them has a firearm sentencing enhancement on it. So there's like a lower level manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, that's only good for up to 18 months in prison. There's a higher level that includes a gun sentencing enhancement that carries a mandatory minimum 5 years in prison. So they've charged him with both, and a jury will decide which one they think is appropriate. But he won't be convicted of both. Only one.
And that's what this statement goes to here. It's where are we at here? The New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney Mary Cormac Altwies announced on Thursday that in keeping with the commitment to pursue justice for all victims, blah, 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 Rust actor and producer ALEC Baldwin and armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed will each be charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Helena Hutchins on the film's Santa Fe County set in 2021. Assistant Director David Halls has signed a plea agreement for the charge of negligent use of a deadly weapon. The terms include a suspended sentence of 6 months of probation. Guy was smart.
Yeah, so
we'll get to that.
They don't say it here, but he's almost certainly cooperating with the prosecution here, so you should expect him to be called as a state witness.
He's flipped.
If these things go to trial.
A copy of the plea agreement will be available after it has been filed with the court. No charges will be filed specific to the non-fatal shooting of Rush director Joel Souza. How do you feel if you're that guy? Nobody gets charged for blasting you in the shoulder just because someone else died in front
which is
of
weird. I mean, if the shot was reckless with regard to Helena Hutchins, who was killed, it's equally reckless with regards to Sousa's injury. At the very least, a reckless endangerment. Frankly, it could be reckless endangerment for everybody on the set. I mean, a separate count for each individual. But for some reason, they've decided maybe they just don't want to muddy the waters. It does kind of complicate the narrative for the prosecution. They may figure if they get him on manslaughter, that's good enough.
Good enough, yeah. After a thorough review of the evidence and the laws of the state of New Mexico, I've determined that there is sufficient evidence to
which
file
I did in 3
days.
days.
And I think I was about a week behind you because I just wanted to see a little more evidence. I've determined there is sufficient evidence to file criminal charges against ALEC Baldwin and other members of the Rust film crew. On my watch, no one is above the law and everyone deserves justice. Well, okay, that's some good political speech there. Baldwin Gutierrez Reed will be charged in the alternative with 2 counts of manslaughter, meaning that a jury would decide not simply if they were guilty, but under which definition of involuntary manslaughter they were guilty. And I think we need to kind of look at what the language of the statute is. I know you've gone over this. You did an amazing stream on this International Dateline Screw Me Up. I guess it was earlier this morning your time. Or was it yesterday your time?
Yesterday my time. It's only 8 a.m. here, so I just got to the office for the day.
I'm just these international datelines, they kind of mess me up a bit. The New Mexico statute says manslaughter is the unlawful killing of a human being without malice. That right there is a very standard manslaughter wording.
Right, because if there were
kill
malice,
someone unlawful.
Yeah, if there were malice, it would be murder. So malice just means you had a malicious intent to kill the person.
Now, it's like voluntary manslaughter, which we don't need to worry about here. So whoever commits voluntary manslaughter, we don't need to worry about those punishment provisions. But this is New Mexico
let's cover it
statute.
briefly, just so people know. So voluntary manslaughter, often called heat of passion manslaughter, that happens when, there's a heat of passion. So a man comes home, finds his wife in bed with a lover, and shoots them both. What the law says is that the man has the opportunity to argue to the jury that, yes, I intentionally killed them, but I was in such a state of hot blood that my brain could not form the specific intent required for murder. So the law differentiates between a cold-blooded killing, with premeditation and planning and ropes and chloroform and all that, and a hot-blooded killing. We treat them differently. And a hot-blooded, does this smell like chloroform, Jeff? A hot-blooded killing is voluntary manslaughter. So you intended to use force against that person, but you were in such an elevated emotional state that we distinguish it from murder. In involuntary manslaughter, you don't actually have
no one has suggested ever that this is voluntary. Nobody suggested there was any intent. There was never any heat of passion. It was involuntary, which consists of manslaughter, which again is the unlawful killing of a human being without malice in the commission of an unlawful act, not among the felony, or in the commission of a lawful act. The lawful act, he's an actor. He's in the lawful act of acting. He's performing his job. He's doing his job. He's doing his duty as an actor, which might produce death.
The two counts of manslaughter are both these variations. So one of them is they're arguing alternatively, first, that he was acting lawfully. The second is that he was lawfully, but with a gun as a separate element. That gets you the gun sentencing enhancement. So he was acting lawfully, but without due caution and circumspection with a gun. The other one is acting unlawfully. And the unlawful is essentially the underlying unlawful conduct is the negligent handling of the gun. And there you don't get the sentencing enhancement because you can't have the gun be both an element of the crime and an enhancement for the sentence. You can apply it in one context, but not in the other context. So they're charging him with basically, all right, we're going to argue he acted lawfully, but with a gun. So that gets him convicted of manslaughter and gets the gun sentencing enhancement. And alternatively, we're going to argue that he was acting unlawfully and negligently handling a firearm. That gets you the manslaughter conviction, but then you can't go after the gun sentencing enhancement.
And the important language of the statute here is in an unlawful manner. You can do something lawfully, but in an unlawful manner without due caution and circumspection. Like I have a gun and I don't give a shit who I'm pointing at or what I'm doing or how I'm handling it. You were saying something. Go ahead.
And the difficulty for Alec Baldwin is, by the way, every time I talk about this case, normally when I do like my YouTube shows, I get kind of normal comments on YouTube. Twitter is a cesspool, so you always get crazy bots and stuff there. But on YouTube, it's usually pretty normal for me. But every time I cover the Alec Baldwin shooting of Helena Hutchins, you can see Alec Baldwin's PR team enter the comments. There are all these accounts with 0 subscribers, no content created, and they raise.
How can somebody who had nothing to do with this have any liability for the death?
They raise these bizarre counter arguments like criminal law doesn't apply to actors, or OSHA exempts him, or there's this weird appellate decision out of Washington state that should be controlling precedent in New Mexico. I mean, it's these bizarre talking points that just don't make any legal sense at all, but they serve the purpose of muddying the waters of his narrative of guilt.
Do you think it's muddying the waters intentionally, or just a bunch of idiots and ignorant
too organized? Yeah, I think it's too organized. Okay. Listen, if you were Alec Baldwin, would you hire a public relations management team to do this kind of stuff? I would. I would recommend it to him if he were my client.
And it's clear he did that before he hired a lawyer.
Maybe.
So is Alec Baldwin, is he a member of the lawofselfdefense.com team?
No, he's not.
Member?
He's not a platinum member. So
Why don't you tell us about this platinum membership?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Platinum member, be a Law of Self-Defense platinum member. That's the only way to have me available to provide a legal consult on your use of force case. If you're ever criminally charged because you were compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, or your property. We have many members. Those are the only ones. You can't hire me otherwise, folks. We don't take outside consults anymore. We only do legal consults for our platinum members. You can learn more about that at lawofselfdefense.com/platinum. There is a Baldwin who's a platinum member, by the way, but it's not Alec Baldwin. It's Adam.
It would be
Baldwin.
Adam, the smart Baldwin, who is only distantly related.
Yep.
If at all.
Very distant. And distant relation generations back in Ireland.
Well, and you had a good discussion with him about these types of issues. What was it, a month ago, 2 months ago? It's been a while.
Yeah, I think about that. I've covered this Alec Baldwin case many times, including that interview with Adam Baldwin. And I interviewed Adam not because they're related, but because he's an actor in Hollywood who is in a lot of movies handling guns. So he's had all the training, all the the Actors Guild union rules and regulations on safe handling of a gun. So he was able to provide me with a lot of documentation and his own multi-decades experience handling guns on sets. But all the content I've done for this Alec Baldwin shooting, if folks want to see it aggregated, including that interview with Adam Baldwin, they can go to lawofselfdefense.com/Baldwin, and it's all collected there.
And I don't know how many of the police interrogation. I know you watched some of the police interrogation videos. I assume I know you watched Alec Baldwin's interrogation.
Yeah,
where he made this mistake of not shutting the fuck up and not having a lawyer, but in a matter of minutes, he went from, I'm just an unfrozen caveman actor, I don't know anything, I'm just, I rely on everybody, to 3 minutes later, he's like, okay, here's the 3 different types of, you got the dummy rounds, you got the blank rounds, you got the live rounds, and here's how you can tell all the difference. So within 3 minutes, he went from, I don't know anything about this, to I'm an expert on all of this.
Yeah, so he, in fact, was qualified to inspect the gun and ensure there were not live rounds in it. He wasn't some dummy who wouldn't know the difference between a live round, a flash round, a dummy round, a completely inert round. I mean, he was familiar with these things. Of course he was. He's been handling guns in movies forever. And the irony is, he's Alec Baldwin, a TV, sometimes movie actor, and you'd think, based on his interview with those police investigators, that he'd never seen a single episode of Columbo. I mean, this is the same arrogant nonsense that every suspect
Andrew,
in Columbo
I just got
does.
one more question for you. Just one more thing.
They all just presume, because they get special treatment their entire lives, that they're smarter than the cops they're talking to, that they can just talk their way out of this, that they'll get the benefit of the doubt, that they'll get a special escape hatch from criminal liability if they just sweet talk whoever they're talking to. Yeah. And of course, Columbo always gets his guy in the end. They screw up. Their hubris captures them in their criminal liability, and that's exactly what happened with Alec Baldwin. Not that I think it would have changed much, because it's obviously reckless manslaughter, even if he doesn't say a word. But every word he said only hurt him.
And this is something I just learned the other day. Are you familiar with Alec Baldwin's father? He was apparently the local high school's shooting team coach.
Oh, how about that?
And he literally died of lead poisoning. And so it's I just learned this the other day, and I'm like, I had no idea this is what was happening. So the fact that he's been around literally a shooting coach since he was born tells you a lot about this guy. And I mean, what you just said leads me to the question, how surprised were you that Alec Baldwin was charged? I mean, both from a legal perspective and a social perspective.
Right. So anytime we're talking about this stuff, what a prosecutor might do, we have to look at it from two sides. We have to look at it from the legal merits, what would be appropriate to charge, and then we have to look at it from the perspective of the politics of it. What does the prosecutor want to do? Because the prosecutor has unlimited discretion on whether or not they want to charge or not. So on the legal merits, there's no question that a manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, reckless manslaughter charge is appropriate here, but that doesn't mean the prosecutor wants to bring the charge. The prosecutor could say, you know what, we're overloaded with more important cases, so we don't want to do this. Or the prosecutor could give no reason at all for not prosecuting this case. And by the way, just because she's now charged him doesn't necessarily mean the case goes to trial, right? David Hall, the assistant director, he got a very favorable plea deal, no prison time, 6 months suspended sentence, 6 months parole for his role in handling Alec Baldwin the gun and saying cold gun when he gave it to him. He didn't go to trial. He's not doing any prison time. Alec Baldwin might be able to negotiate a favorable plea deal, so this may not go to trial. If it goes to trial on the legal merits, I don't see how he's not convicted. It's really unambiguous manslaughter. But even if he's convicted, then the trial judge becomes the sentencing judge, and the sentencing judge also has a lot of discretion. I'm a little unclear if the gun sentencing statute is a mandatory minimum of 5 years, in which case there wouldn't be discretion if he's convicted.
That's my understanding is essentially the two are a simple negligence and a criminal negligence, and the fact that it involves a firearm is a minimum mandatory 5 year. That's my understanding.
So that would be bad. Then there would be no sentencing discretion there for the judge. If it's simple involuntary manslaughter, that's remarkably, that's only good for 18 months. And there,
but again, I'm not a New Mexico lawyer. I don't know if that's true. That's just sort of how I read
and sentencing always gets very complicated. There's a lot of variance in sentencing practices and rules and guidelines from state to state. So we can only speak in generalities on that. But if it's a mandatory minimum for the gun, and that's pretty common in a lot of states, that would be bad. Then there's no sentencing discretion. If it's the other one, up to 18 months, well, then the judge can do anything. Like Kim Potter, right? Kim Potter wrongfully convicted of reckless manslaughter because the jury was misinstructed on the law. But she was looking at 20 years and the judge gave her 18 months. Well, that's, a 1/10 reduction, right? A 90% reduction in the possible sentence. So could this judge give Alec Baldwin 18 days and suspend the rest? Sure. Could give him no days and suspend the entire sentence.
Philip Moore says Baldwin has created so much joy to so many with his acting career. He should be able to get away with at least one involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah. A lot of people make comments like that unironically.
Yeah, but why do you think they do this? Where does this mentality come from? Because if you just look at this.
Yeah, we're very tribal in America currently. There's my team and your team, so to speak, in the populace. And when someone's on your team, they get all the benefit of the doubt, and all the evidence against them disappears from your view, from your vision. And if they're on the other team, then you railroad them. That's just the way it is. So does anybody doubt for a moment that if this were Clint Eastwood who had done this, that they wouldn't have prosecuted him immediately as vigorously as they possibly could? Someone who's politically on the other team? Of course. Or frankly, if it was Adam Baldwin, he would have been prosecuted much more aggressively. But because, this is New Mexico is a pretty liberal state. This part of New Mexico is particularly liberal. This is a liberal prosecutor. So Alec Baldwin's on her team. That's why I would not have been surprised if, despite the clear legal merit for a manslaughter charge, she decided not to charge him and called it an accident. She could have released a press release, said, we think this is a terrible accident, but criminal charges are not appropriate. Just like the Department of Justice did with Hillary Clinton with the server in her closet, right? Yeah. Oh, we just think no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges in this case. So nothing happens. I mean, they can word salad their way out of anything if they want to. They have that authority. They have that discretion. Here, she chose not to.
This is a very good segue here. Could they go to trial and be found innocent? I don't know how, but if not guilty, then who gets charged?
Not on the legal
charging
merit.
happens before the trial, but if he's not guilty, so if Baldwin checked the gun and didn't know it was a real bullet, does that exonerate him? That's
but he didn't do anything. That's the problem. See, the only rationale I could imagine would be if he had said from the beginning, "Oh my God, I had no idea this was a real gun. I thought this was an inert prop, incapable of firing a bullet. So it wouldn't matter if I cocked the hammer or put my finger on the trigger. I thought this barrel was plugged. There was no way a projectile could come out of this thing. That was my understanding of this. I had no idea it was a real gun." That would have been a sound legal defense. The trouble is he would have had to have said that immediately. That's when it would have been helpful to have a lawyer standing beside him. When you don't say it immediately, it's not credible to claim it later.
Yeah. I mean, even after the FBI report came out that said we literally had to destroy this weapon to get it to fire without the trigger being pulled. He's on Cuomo's podcast saying the same thing. Oh, I pulled it back into a half cock and my finger slipped or something and it went up, but I didn't pull the trigger. And literally every picture they have of him on set is him with his finger on the trigger of that weapon. You can see it in the thumbnail for this thing here.
Yeah, I actually have a little video clip of him rehearsing that scene where he's repetitively pulling out the gun.
I don't have that locked and loaded. So if you clip that, if you can like put that in the chat, I'll pull it up because it's very, very.
Whoops! I mean, clicked the wrong thing. Let's see.
There we go. And this is an amazing piece of
this
film
is moments before the fatal shot's actually fired. And you'll see every time he presents the pistol from under his coat, his finger's on the trigger.
And this is the man who said, I would never put my finger on the trigger. What the fuck is going on there? And this second one, people are being very, very gentle with him. I think this second part where he does this, he actually pulls the trigger because you see the firearm jump a little bit. I think he fucking pulled the trigger the second time.
And
See, it does that little
hammer,
skip
pulls
right
the trigger, or cocks the hammer, at least his fingers on the trigger. And by the way, for folks, I know a lot of people may never have fired a gun like this before. Once the hammer's cocked, the amount of pressure you need on the trigger to drop the hammer is infinitesimal. It's a hair trigger on these what they call single action guns. When the hammer's down, you can pull the trigger as hard as you want. Nothing happens because this type of gun's not capable of cocking the hammer by pulling the trigger. You have to cock the hammer as a separate action. Once you've done that, the amount of pressure on that trigger to drop the hammer is nothing. It's ounces. But I mean, I think the circumstantial evidence, the FBI testing, this kind of video allows for a reasonable inference that he probably had his finger on the trigger, but it's not necessary that he did because he had the muzzle pointed at her. The beauty of the gun safety rules is that they're cumulative. You have to violate multiple of them in order to kill somebody.
Give us the 4 rules of gun safety. What are the that I learned when I was fucking 8 years old? Like literally day 1 of hunter safety course when I was 8 years old. These rules have not changed in at least 41 years.
Yeah, longer than that. And by the way, Alec Baldwin would have been taught these on every movie set in which guns were being handled. The actors would have been taught this because it's part of the normal practice on movie sets. But the 4 gun rules are: 1, all guns are presumed loaded unless you verify yourself that it's not loaded. So someone hands you a gun and says it's not loaded, that's not good enough. You have to check yourself. It's presumptively loaded. And if you check and that gun's in your house and you've checked and it's not loaded and it leaves your hand and comes back to your hand, you check it again because something could have happened in the intervening period.
And I want to stop you right there because this is an important thing here. This is the statement from his lawyer. This decision to prosecute him distorts Helena Hutchins' tragic death and represents a terrible miscarriage of justice. Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe that there was a live bullet in the gun or anywhere else on the movie set. I would say that the way I was trained in Utah to deal with firearms is there's no reason to assume there is not a live round in that
gun.
Right.
It's the opposite. And that's true of any inherently dangerous instrument. The burden is on you to ensure that you're using it safely, that you're taking appropriate safety measures because it's inherently dangerous and people die if the safety measures aren't taken. And that includes things like handling explosives, handling dangerous chemicals, handling dangerous drugs, handling firearms. They're inherently dangerous. We all know we wouldn't want the muzzle of a gun pointed at us. Everybody, and by the way, Alec Baldwin in particular is on the board of a gun control organization that exists solely because guns are dangerous.
Yeah.
So nobody knows better than him that guns are dangerous. So it creates, you're presumed to know, everybody knows guns are dangerous. Alec Baldwin knows guns are dangerous. He can't say, I had no reason to believe it was dangerous. It's always dangerous until you verify otherwise. And the first way you do that is by making sure that you presume the gun's loaded until you verify personally that it's not. And Adam Baldwin confirmed for me, that's the standard practice on movie sets for all actors. The second rule of gun safety is you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you want the gun to make a loud noise. Well, what do we got here? His finger's clearly on the trigger. The third rule of gun safety is you don't point the muzzle at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. What did he do here? He clearly had the muzzle pointed directly at Helena Hutchins. This was not a ricochet shot, folks. The bullet struck her directly from the muzzle of the firearm. The fourth rule of gun safety doesn't really apply in this context, but it's know your target and what's beyond your target. So if you're target shooting, you have to understand what you're shooting at. Don't mistake, a human for a deer, for example, if you're out hunting. Know what you're shooting at, but also know what's beyond that because bullets can miss and overpenetrate, and bullets never really miss, right? They hit something. They keep going until they hit something. They just may not hit what you wanted them to hit, but they ultimately hit something. So those are the 4 rules of gun safety. And the beauty of them is a really bad outcome can't happen unless you break more than one. Because if all you do is you didn't know the gun was loaded, you ignorantly pretended that it wasn't loaded when it had a live round in it and it goes off. Well, first of all, it's not going to go off. No modern firearm will go off. By modern, I mean the last 100 years. Unless you depress the trigger. So you have to break that rule too. Even if the gun goes off because you depress the trigger, you're not going to kill someone unless you have the muzzle pointed at a person. So you have to break that rule too. Helena Hutchins is dead because Alec Baldwin broke all those rules. He did not ensure there was not a live round on the gun. He did not keep his finger off the trigger. But even if he did, he pointed the muzzle directly at Helena Hutchins. That enough. Pointing the muzzle at her without ensuring that there's a round in the gun creates an unjustified risk of death. That is recklessness. He's presumed to know he's doing that because he's handling an inherently dangerous instrument. He's trained on guns. He has that knowledge. He told us in the police interview he's competent to differentiate between live rounds and dummy rounds. And he ignored that risk, and she died as a result. That's reckless manslaughter every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Like, I mean, literally, how is that not the textbook definition of involuntary manslaughter under the New Mexico statute? If you were to write a textbook, literally a law school textbook explanation,
it's a law school exam question, right? An easy law school exam question.
And speaking of law school exam questions, I think you have an alternative to law school exam questions, don't you?
I do have a course coming up. In fact, let me do this. Let me share this.
That was a good segue, wasn't it?
any grift segue is a good segue, Jeff.
I know.
Let me share that. I shared this graphic with you.
There you go. Yeah.
Coming up, our Law of Self-Defense Advanced course. This is my full-day course on self-defense law to make you hard to convict, so you know where the legal boundaries actually are if you're ever compelled to defend yourself, your family, or your property against criminal predation. We cover the 5 elements of self-defense in detail, illustrated with real cases, what's required for a self-defense claim to be valid. Or alternatively, another way of looking at this is what are the targets of attack for the prosecution on your claim of self-defense. We talk about what makes you an attractive target for prosecution, so you know what not to do. We talk about defense of yourself, defense of family, colleagues, friends, strangers, active shooter situations, defense of your home, business, occupied vehicle. We talk about defense of personal property. We talk about interacting with the police in the aftermath of a use of force event. We spend an hour on that alone. Because it's a much more subtle, complex problem than you might think. We talk about how to build your own personalized, legally sound self-defense strategy that works best for you. We do all that in one day. We only teach this class, and we teach the class live, folks. So it's taught live by me using Zoom, plenty of opportunity for Q&A with me, so you don't have to walk away with any questions. We only teach this class once, sometimes twice a year. So the only scheduled date right now for all of 2023 is April 15th, Saturday, April 15th. And the great news is if you sign up for that April 15th class this month in January, it's 50% off. So you save yourself $100 on the registration. You can sign up in February, but then it's only 25% off. Sign up in March, it's only 10% off. And if you wait until April to sign up, it's the full registration fee. So if any of this is of interest, you can go to that URL right there, lawofselfdefense.com/advanced. There's a video you can watch that explains more about the course, and you can sign up right away, secure your seat, save yourself 50% off the registration at lawofselfdefense.com/advanced.
And as long as we're grifting, there's also an option that involves our very own Stephen N. Gosney, who is just here, and Andrew Legal Mindset. Also, there's a law school alternative that I'm sure Mr. Branca would be happy to
that's the one you were
about.
referencing. Yeah, so that's our American law courses. I have a little thing for that too. Believe it or not. Believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not. If I can just find it. Here we go. Did it pop up? Okay, there it is. American law courses. I'm sorry, the pre-registration period's over, so I don't have a updated graphic for it. You can still sign up for the course, but we're, I think, 2 or 3 weeks into the semester right now. You can watch the replay versions of the last couple classes. Those are available to students, and then participate in the live classes moving forward. But these are a series of law school level courses that we make available to just lay people taught in plain English by genuine experts in their subjects. Last fall, we had criminal law taught by Steve Gosney, who you just saw on the show here, a very experienced prosecutor and public defender from down in Florida. This semester, the spring semester, we have a course in evidence being taught by a trial attorney, a criminal trial attorney with more than 200 trials under his belt, folks. And there's no better way to learn evidence than to be applying it in a courtroom. That's an unbelievable level of trial experience, by the way. A lot of attorneys are hardly ever in the courtroom, and 5, 6, 10 actual trials would be a lot for many attorneys. 200 is ridiculous. That's the evidence law course. And this is still a young guy. to my eyes. At least everybody looks younger to me every year, it seems. And then we also have a property course, American Property, being taught by none other than Andrew Esquire, Legal Mindset. Both of those are being taught this spring semester. You can learn more about those at AmericanLawCourses.com. And then we have other courses in the curriculum that we'll teach over the summer. We have constitutional law. In the fall, Steve will be teaching a criminal procedure class. We're lining up a criminal justice course. I'll probably do a self-defense law course, a semester-long law school course as part of this curriculum as well. You can learn more about all of that at AmericanLawCourses.com.
And just because I'm tired of him yelling at me about having nothing to grift, I'm actually in the process of putting an outline to some rather historically interesting maritime law casualty cases, collisions, loss of life in the seas. So some unusual cases in maritime law. I just want something to grift because I'm just tired of Andrew yelling at me for not having anything to grift other than
it's inexcusable. I don't know why all of you don't do this. I mean, I tell everybody to do this and nobody ever does. Steve, thank God, Steve Gosney finally did. I'm like, Steve, Steve's like a law geek. So he writes these law review articles all the time. I'm like, you already have the content, put it together in a book. So finally he did. It's a very, very good book, by the way. Crimelaw.net is where you can get that. And Jeff, you have incredible expertise in maritime law. I know these stories are fascinating. You do shows on them. You gather an audience that way. There's no reason not to put it into book form. So I'm so glad you're moving.
I'm putting together an outline right now. I'm kind of outlining a few major cases, outlining them in a creative way. So, and that's all because of you, because I just don't want you to yell at me anymore. You're scary. And Rowdy Sloth has gifted 10 Legal Vices memberships. Thank you so much, Rowdy Sloth. That is deeply, deeply appreciated. Thank you very, very much. And we have Here for the Truth says, when I think about Alec Baldwin, I think of Charlie Sheen, same kind of doofus. I would argue that Alec Baldwin is a higher level doofus than Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen's pretty bad. Yeah, he fell pretty hard. But he didn't kill anybody.
No, yet. But Kelly Sandy RN says, what was Baldwin's MO intent? He doesn't need he just needs to be, I was an idiot and I didn't give a shit about who I was pointing the gun at. I didn't care whether this gun was loaded or unloaded. I didn't check. I didn't do anything. He doesn't need an MO or an intent.
Yeah. And by the way, the fact that other people can share responsibility for this event, and we already know the assistant director took a plea to negligent handling of a firearm. The armorer has also been charged with the same 2 counts of manslaughter. That does nothing to relieve Alec Baldwin's liability because ultimately the shot fired when the gun was in his hand. In fact, those other people, if I were defending them, I would argue intervening cause because they could do a ton of stuff wrong. But if Alec Baldwin had only bothered to check, there would have been no harm occurring.
But Andrew, he said rhetorically, he's just an actor. He was told that this weapon was clean and clear and cold. How can you hold him liable for this?
And the consequence of relying on that representation is that a woman died. The law doesn't allow for that. He knows the gun is dangerous. Does anyone believe for a moment that if the script had called for him to put the muzzle against his own temple, he would not have checked to make sure that gun didn't have a live round in it?
So see, that the example I use is if someone told him to put that gun against his own son's head, would he check or not? It's the same principle. Put it to your own head, put it to your son's head. Do you rely on someone saying, oh, no, that's cool. That's a blank round. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And even if those other people did everything wrong, and they may well have, it all ends with Alec Baldwin if he merely takes a moment to check to make sure the gun is clear. He's the last chain. Last link in the chain of events that can keep Helena Hutchins alive.
And I mean, that's essentially what this involuntary manslaughter deals with. An accident, not a pure accident, just an accident that could have been prevented if someone had done their job. If David Hall had checked the weapon, this never would have happened. If Gutierrez Reed, if she had checked the weapon at any point, this wouldn't have happened. If Baldwin, people point to Hannah Gutierrez Reed as being the primarily responsible person. I say that I think, in my own personal view, Alec Baldwin is the primarily responsible party because ultimately he is the one that pointed the business end of that revolver at someone's chest.
Right.
If
So
anybody had done their job, this never would have happened.
that's right. So Helena Hutchins, I expect, will argue, look, I may have made a mistake, but I didn't point that gun at anybody. And never would
What
have.
do you see as Alec Baldwin's defense? If you were his defense lawyer, what would you argue?
I'd be working pretty hard on a plea deal.
That's exactly what I said, and people were accusing me of being a fuckwit yesterday. I think that's why they charged
I think this
them with
prosecutor
these
might be
alternatives.
very amenable to a plea deal. If she gets a plea out of him, she could say she pursued justice, she did the right thing. Prison was not an appropriate, doesn't bring anybody back to life to send Alec Baldwin to prison. He's going to give talks on gun safety to other actors, so this never has to happen again. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I would be pitching to the prosecutor, because the prosecutor seems favorably disposed to, she did that other plea deal. She didn't have to do that. And that guy got no prison time. So if I were Alec Baldwin, I'd be pushing pretty hard for that. Hey, listen, Alec Baldwin could always come to your house like on Thanksgiving and Christmas for the next 10 years and entertain your guests. I mean, all this stuff is possible.
Stories of death and destruction.
Yeah, he can, he's willing to fund a gun safety effort within your jurisdiction to make sure little kids aren't killed by guns they find in people's homes. And you can spin a narrative that the prosecutor will find attractive, and she may bite, because if he goes to trial, there's no way. Of course, there's always some possibility an irrational jury might acquit, but on the legal merits, it's an unambiguous case of manslaughter,
as it was from day one, literally from day one. But I took a lot of flack 24 hours ago. Well, I guess 22 hours ago when I talked about this was what we were just talking about. If anybody had done their job, this never would have happened at all. It would literally have been impossible for this to happen if one of those three people had followed through and done their job.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't feel particularly sad that anybody was charged. The people that
but everybody knew
people
were not doing their job. I mean, there'd already been 2 accidental discharges on the set. There were already members of the crew talking about how the gun handling scenes were being done pretty loose in terms of safety. So this was known that this was a problem. This wasn't an isolated event. Safety was secondary on this set. And maybe, just look at it. It's a low budget film. They barely have enough money. Most of the crew quit because their hotel sucks so bad. The armorer they hired is a young woman. Her father is a famous armorer in Hollywood. Yeah. So they got kind of the name, but he wasn't on set managing the guns. She was doing it. And just look at her hair. We shall know them by their hair. It doesn't actually.
Did you watch her interrogation videos?
Yeah, she's a ditz.
I just love. Maybe I'm an asshole, but she's sitting there in her interrogation videos. The cops walk out, and then the first thing she does is she's just like, I'm like, oh fuck you. That's not a good sign when the chick is sniffing her pits to see how the police are reacting.
So they had a very superficial facade of safety, facade of competence when it came to managing these guns and ammunition, but they knew they didn't have it. And then the police find live rounds on the tray where the guns are being stored as props. There's a live round in Alec Baldwin's gun belt. And
that was one of the new things we learned from this. I did not know that until yesterday, that one of the live rounds was on his belt.
And there's a lot of downtime. I've never worked in movies, but I've worked on TV shows, and there's a lot of downtime where you're just sitting around doing nothing while lights are being set up and sound is being checked. And I don't know what the hell they're doing over there until they call me over to do my little bit. But when there's a lot of downtime, people are fiddling with things, and they'll fiddle with the guns. They'll fiddle with the ammo. Things are being changed and manipulated. And, again, guns are inherently dangerous. We all know this. Those of us who have a lot of experience handling guns know it, and those of us who don't know it. Those people shouldn't be touching a gun unless there's somebody responsible present. But certainly Alec Baldwin knew. He knew he was holding a real gun. He knew he pointed it at a human being. That was intentional. And then the gun discharged and killed her. And the only reason it discharged was because there was a live round in the gun, which Alec Baldwin could have and should have ensured was not present before he pointed that gun at a mother and a wife and killed her. There's a closing argument.
I'm speechless because as someone who grew up in northern Utah, there was probably twice as many cows as there were people in my hometown. We grew up around guns. We were raised around guns. Like I said, my first hunter safety course was when I turned 8 years old. It's like the day I turned 8 years old, my father enrolled me in the hunter safety course. We had it again in junior high. We went hunting in every single, I mean, from pheasant to deer to bear. You just went hunting and you learned the respect for the weapon. You learned it. And
how many times did you point guns at each other?
Not even toy guns.
Right.
Literally not even toy guns. And I remember my father's 87 years old. And I remember having a conversation about 5 years ago. He grew up in Wyoming, in Star Valley, Wyoming, Afton, when there was literally Indians living in teepees across the valley. That's when he grew up. And I remember thinking, like, we didn't have these high school shootings. We didn't have all these gun violations and things when you were young. Why not? You had literally the Western movie Loaded Guns with the rifle above the doorway.
Yep.
And he said, because if we even looked at that gun, we'd get our ass beat. You respected that as a weapon and as an instrument of death. If you even looked at that gun without a reason, you would get your ass beat.
Right. And I see people in the comments saying things like, yeah, but on a movie set, people point guns at each other all the time. Well, first of all, not as often as you would think. Again, I refer you to my Adam Baldwin interview. Often when they appear to be pointing guns directly at each other, they actually have the muzzle pointed a small distance off the other person. So if the gun does go off, it's a miss. It's not a killing. But second of all, if you are going to point a real gun at another actor, all the more important to make sure there's no live ammo in the gun, right? So that's not an excuse for
don't
Alec
fucking
Baldwin.
point something out at me unless I look at that myself.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna get decked. I mean, one of us is not. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate UFC fighter, but one of us isn't gonna walk away from that interaction if you just randomly point a gun at my face.
Yeah. So it's always possible when you're an actor holding a gun that somehow, by some means, unpredictable, unforeseen, whatever, it's always possible. Somehow there's a live round in that gun. And if you're going to point it at another human being, it's your responsibility to make sure that you've cleared the gun and there is no live round in there. Otherwise, you're creating an unjustified risk of death to another person, which is what criminal recklessness is.
And that's literally what we were just talking about when his lawyer says he had no reason to believe there was a live round in there. He had no reason to believe there was not a live round.
Right.
Because
when you're handling an inherently dangerous instrument, explosives, guns, whatever, the burden's on you to ensure safety. And by the way, the Screen Actors Guild, all their safety guidelines, it says repeatedly through that document, the final safety measure is the actor himself. Everybody's responsible for safety. It's not one person's job, and it's not your job anymore. Everybody is responsible for safety.
And that's where I think his PR team comes in, because there's already been these releases like, oh, this is going to have a chilling effect on movies because no actor is going to be responsible for what they have. When literally it's just the Screen Actors Guild document, their safety document literally says this person is the last line of safety, the actor himself.
Right.
And this PR team relies on the fact that nobody is going to get off their fucking asses and actually check whether what the Screen Actors Guild requirements are, what their documents are, what the OSHA documents are, etc. They're just spewing shit out there into the ether and hoping.
Right. And think about what a non-prosecution here would mean. It would mean that any actor on any set can take a real gun, point it at another human being, press the trigger on that gun, and if someone gets killed, it's no big deal. It's someone else's responsibility.
Not my problem. Yeah. I got to burn through these super chats here real quick. Will his insurance pay for his defense? I don't know about his criminal defense, but something we're going to be talking about a couple of weeks from now. His civil liability contract is pretty darn good. He's got a great indemnity clause with the people. We'll get into that a couple of weeks from now. But I don't know if it'll pay for his criminal thing.
I believe he settled with the Hutchins family, Helena Hutchins family, back in October. So
yeah, he did.
Now he has lawsuits. He's suing the armorer. He's suing a couple of other, I think the assistant director, saying, their misconduct caused him reputational damage and so forth. It looks like a smokescreen to me, but that lawsuit's in play.
His his production company has this great indemnity clause with the Rust Inc., whatever the film production company is, that says regardless of whether or not any liability arises from the negligence of the company or the actor, they will be indemnified for all of the damages and losses incurred as a result of that. So he's not going to pay a dime civilly. Criminally, I don't know.
Listen, my expertise is not civil law, but I know you cannot contract away actual negligence, much less recklessness. You can't say, you have to agree that if I'm negligent, you can't sue me. You would require an actual statutory framework. So that can happen, but it needs to be like a ski resort, right? In Colorado, the ski resorts, they basically have a statute that says, doesn't matter how bad we screw up, you can't sue us. But in most cases, you sign these indemnity clauses, you can't contract away your own negligence. So they can't say, even if I was negligent, you can't sue me. That's not really how it works. Those indemnity clauses.
That was the beauty of this indemnity clause, was if I'm found liable, the head film company, Rust Inc., has to cover my civil liabilities regardless of whether I was negligent or not. It was a beautifully crafted thing. So,
you should get maybe Danny On would be good for this. She does civil litigation, right?
Yeah.
Because this is kind of like a law school question. So I remember in law school, we looked at a case where in New York City, taxicabs were constantly running people over and the taxicab companies would get sued. So what the taxicab companies began to do was separately incorporate each car. So every car was its own taxi company in effect. So if a car ran somebody over and it got sued, the only asset was the car. So the most you could lose was a taxi with 150,000 miles on it.
Exactly.
But the courts pierced through that.
That's what I deal with on a daily basis, because like most of the ships in the world that are carrying cargo, they're one ship, one company. The company is owned by a paper company that's on some shelf in some lawyer's office in Panama. And you go, okay, this ship is liable. And they're okay, they have zero assets other than the ship. Oh, and the ship sank in the accident. Sorry, you're fucked. Right. You get nothing out of it. Yeah, they protect themselves. Yeah. Phil Moore says, if Alec Baldwin signs my copy of Team America, I would let him walk. Nice. Corn Pop, thank you so much for the super sticker. Geomancy, I hear you grew up in Logan. My whole family did. Yeah, private message me. Yeah, I grew up in Logan, Utah. That was my hometown. Great hometown, just south of the Idaho border. Anybody that goes up to Yellowstone, or whether you're going to go west, you have a choice. You either go up through Idaho or you turn east on Highway 89 and you go over to Andrew Branca way there in Colorado. Beautiful. It's God's country. That is God's country.
I haven't been to northern Utah yet. I've been through the Bryce Canyon.
Okay. Yeah, you went there like last summer.
Grand Staircase, through that whole area there, and that's beautiful. I love that part. The Moab Canyonlands.
Oh yeah.
I do that because once a year or so I go out to Las Vegas and Southern California on the motorcycle, and that's my favorite route. For sure. The only other way to go is through the Arizona desert, and I'm not doing that again. That's awful.
Yeah. I remember when the Ninja ZX10s first came out in the mid 80s. I thought I would transfer from street bike to crotch rocket. I owned one of those for 2 weeks, and I realized I'm going to die if I maintain ownership of this thing.
Yeah,
you're going through Death Valley at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it just hits that groove. It just floats down the road at 90 miles an hour. Like, wait, I don't need this in my life. I'm going to die. I need to buy me a bike again, man. I'm jonesing. I hear the mufflers go by, and I'm just dying because I haven't had a bike in 12 years.
There must be good riding in Korea. You got mountains.
Oh yeah, the mountains are great. It's just I just fucked up. I had an accident. I shattered my femur. I was in the hospital for 3 months because I was there for 5 weeks. I got out for 5 days in the titanium. Great medical malpractice case. I won suing the doctor because I was out for 4 days and the titanium plate broke and I was back in the hospital for 6 more weeks. And my boss just, he said, all right, that's really sad. That's your vacation for this year, in the hospital for 3. And then 2 years later, this was the first accident in my life. A delivery truck did an illegal U-turn across 4 lanes of traffic through a crosswalk against a red light while talking on his cell phone. And I T-boned his delivery truck and broke both of my arms at the same time. And my boss said, if you ever get on a bike again, I'm firing your ass because I'm paying you to work, not be in the hospital. But now I think he's forgot about that because he keeps asking me where I'm riding these days. So I'm really looking at the new. I'm either looking at the KZ12. Is the KZ1200? Do they still make those? Because you have a BMW.
I don't know. I ride BMWs, so
yeah. Because they have like the KZ1200 and it was the KR1200. Is that the other one?
You're talking about Kawasaki's?
No, the BMWs.
Oh, it's the K1600 now. Is their they're big touring. That's an amazing bike. A good buddy of mine has one. How tall are you, Jeff?
5'10" and 3/4.
Yeah. So that would be a good book. That would be a good. It's a little small for me. I'm just over 6 foot.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful long distance touring bike. My friend is about your height, and he just loves it. And it is a rocket ship. When he hits the gas,
back then I was looking at the K1200 like 10 years ago.
Right. So it's gone through a few iterations, and that's a fast bike too. But modern bicycles, motorcycles, once they get to be 10 years old, the plastic pieces start getting brittle and stuff like that. So it doesn't, unless you're the kind of guy who likes to fiddle constantly with his motorcycles to keep them running. But if you just want real, BMW reliability, just starts up every time, then I would look at something less than 5 years old for sure. And that would be a 1600. Six-cylinder, smooth as silk.
When I buy my next bike, it'll either be a BMW or probably the Harley Sportster 1200. Because I like the 883 Sportster body style, but I want the bigger engine. Because being a bigger guy, I look ridiculous on an 883. So like the 1200 Sportster would be nice.
Harley's
they have the aerodynamics of a brick.
I like Harleys. I've never owned one, but I've rented them. I've ridden them. They're nice bikes. They're easy to ride. They're very low seat height. But Harley is kind of tricky. So when they sell you the motorcycle, even the big ones like the 1200cc bikes, they only make about 60, 65 horsepower. They have no power at all. Yeah. And then Harley is happy to sell you a series of upgrades. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. And if you do all that stuff, you get up to like BMW levels of horsepower, 130, 140 horsepower, which is nice. But when you just buy the bike and you don't do any of those upgrades, it's a 1200cc engine making 65 horsepower, which is not a lot of horsepower.
Yeah, and on the stock models, they have virtually zero profit margin. They make it when they have to sell you the $300 bolt covers with a skull on it. they make all of their money from the aftermarket.
You get the high flow air filter. You got to have that, man. You get the cam.
Yeah,
get a new cam put in. You got to have that, man. I mean,
it's got to have skulls.
Otherwise, it's a girl's bike
because they believe in skulls. I love going through Sardine Canyon up to Logan. That is God's. Hey, wait to co-op my image there, Ben. There, done that in your Christmas stream. There, yeah, Sardine Canyon is gorgeous. Next time you go through, what I would suggest is this beautiful route, which would be from where you are, go up to Devil's Tower, come down through Yellowstone, hit you West Yellowstone, go down through Idaho Falls, cut through Utah, northern Utah, and go back through Star Valley, Wyoming, and then across to Colorado.
Yeah, I've been to Devil's Tower. I went out there from, I was up at Sturgis one time, and I took the ride out to Devil's Tower just, I think last year, maybe the year before. It's, Devil's Tower is neat. You take the picture. I got the picture somewhere around here. But the ride out there is nothing to ride home about. The Black Hills itself is fantastic riding. But getting there is kind of boring.
My dream is to retire to Deadwood. That is that's my hometown. Cobblestones, 1,100 people. It's quiet, like 9 months of the year, and it's in gorgeous. I just love that area. I love that South Dakota, northern Colorado, western Wyoming, eastern Wyoming kind of vibe. That's just
it's pretty country. Deadwood itself is just like it's just like a one street gambling kind of strip now. Yeah.
I love it.
It does have like old saloons and people wearing, top hats and stuff like that, serving the beer. It's it's an interesting place to go. I typically stay there when I go up there.
And
they have restaurants. So you can
and I was gonna say, like, you could tell like a real biker because of what Andrew just said. I went to Sturgis once. you gotta check it off.
I go every couple of years, but I don't go during the rally. The rally's in, Sturgis. The town of Sturgis is a dump. I mean, there's nothing there. Most of the stores most of the year are boarded up, and they just open them up to sell T-shirts and stuff during the rally. It goes from about 7,000 people to 700,000 people for the rally, and a lot of those people don't really know how to ride motorcycles, so they just clog up the roads. But if you go 2 weeks before the rally or 2 weeks after the rally, it's nice. All the restaurants are open. You can travel around. The roads aren't too congested yet. You just have to not be there when the rally is actually in progress.
Oh yeah, you watch all the RVs with the motorcycles on the trailers behind. They park like 50 miles outside of Sturgis. They offload the bikes and they ride the bikes in, and the wife drives the RV into town.
The Buffalo Chip
at the hotel.
Yeah. There's a few big campgrounds around Sturgis where the big RVs, the toy haulers come in, and they just park for the whole 10 days, and they love it. They have a great time, and I'm not knocking it. If that's your thing, go ahead and do that. But I'm not that social. I like to just ride the motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, we should do a motorcycle show sometime, because I mean that's the thing. I just love just the vibe. Just as I was, it's just the zen to get out of, like, where I am in Busan. There's 5 million people in the city. It takes an hour to get outside of the town. While you're driving through the hour of just fucking shitty traffic, you get all of the thoughts you could possibly have out of your head.
Yeah.
You've thought about everything there's possible to think about for that hour. And then you get out into the countryside and you're listening to the motor. You're watching the world drive by 6 inches below your feet. You're smelling the farm country, and you're just in this zen mode, and you just drive for hours and you don't care.
That's why I love it. It's my psychotherapy. I am taking a trip, a motorcycle tour out in Eastern Europe this summer. So that'll be fun.
Really?
I've never looked at South
Where
America.
at?
Yeah. Yep. Czechoslovakia, Austria, a little bit of Germany, Poland. Where else? Romania. That whole neck of the woods. Couple weeks.
Oh, see, that is literally a bucket list thing for me. Is I want to just take a motorcycle tour of like Romania, Prague, and just like visit take a motorcycle tour of the old castles, like the Crusade era castles.
That's basically what this is. So we go to Prague, Budapest, Krakow, Vienna. Those are kind of like the major cities, and the rest of the time you're visiting old castles up in the mountains there, the Carpathian Mountains, I guess.
I so want that. I'm jealous. I got to do that. Well,
all it takes is money.
I got that. I just don't have the time. That's the thing.
And time, yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Give me 10 more years to retire, and then that's just all I'm just gonna like fuck off and drive around everywhere. But we've kind of hit this Alec Baldwin thing to death. Do you want to talk about pedophiles getting murdered in prison before you go, or do you want to go?
Oh yeah, I saw something about that on Twitter. I think that's old news actually, but I did see the guy who beat 2 pedophiles to death with a cane.
Yes.
But I think that happened some time ago, and somehow it just popped back into the news stream again. And I guess we just had that Supreme Court decision, right? There was where they argued you can't use the death penalty on child rapists unless the victim is killed.
What? I haven't heard this. What did we do?
I saw a dissent. I guess it was Alito wrote a dissent saying this is ridiculous. How can you say you can't use the death penalty no matter how many children were raped or how violently, or that it violates the 8th Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment? That's a ridiculous take. But the majority position basically is unless you kill someone, we're not going to subject you to the death penalty, is the majority's position. And of course, everyone's outraged because what could be worse than a child rapist, right? If anybody deserves death, surely it's them. The challenge, of course, comes in that not every claim of child rape turns out to be true. Especially in the 80s, there was a couple of big sets of cases, child care centers, where there were ridiculous, absolutely
all the
false
satanic
claims.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but those people were convicted and put in prison and labeled as child rapists for many years. And if the death penalty had been on the table, they could have been subject to the death penalty, even though the claims themselves were crazy.
I like the title of this, just 2 childs.
Right. Yeah.
This guy here is doing the Lord's work. This is December 13th, 2022. After a California inmate beat 2 convicted child molesters to death with a walking cane, he decided to speak out. And God bless him, he tried to avoid this. He tried not to do it. He said that he warned them. Jonathan Watson, a 41-year-old California inmate, attacked David Bob, 48, and Graham DeLuis Conti, 62, at a California substance abuse treatment facility and state prison in Corcoran. Both men were taken to the hospital with head wounds after being bludgeoned with a cane. Watson unashamedly admitted to their murders after Bob died en route and Louis Conti was pronounced dead 3 days later. As he said, he was transferred to this prison, and he realized this was not a good environment for him and requested to be moved after a child molester was housed in his pod. He begged them, I can't handle this. If this guy stays here, somebody's going to die. Get me out of here. And they didn't listen to him. And then the guy started watching like children's shows on TV.
Right.
Yeah, I was mulling it over when along came molester number 1, and he put his TV right on PBS Kids again. But this time, someone else said something to the effect of, is this guy really going to watch this right in front of us? And I recall saying, I got this. And I picked up the cane and I went to work on him. That's a man doing the Lord's work.
You'd think even if you were someone who is wrongfully accused and convicted of child rape, that you'd somehow avoid watching children's television shows in prison, right? No, let's not aggravate the situation.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Fun fact from Jeff at Legal Vices: my parents did foster kids from the time I was 3 or 4 years old. We had one guy that served 15 years in prison for graping his adopted daughters, and I was kind of sad he made it out of prison alive. And that's just the thing. There is honor among thieves. There is a criminal code that if you do things to women and children, you are lower than dirt and you're going to be deleted if you're around. I mean, how these two guys were not in protective custody is beyond me, especially when the guy told them, get me out of here or get them out of here because something is going to happen. I've reached my limit. You got to get me out of here. And they didn't listen. And he's like, and he was serving a death penalty. Those are the most dangerous people there. He is life in prison without parole. He literally has zero to lose.
Yep.
Zero. And he's doing the Lord's work by deleting the chomos from the crowd. That was just the other argument. That was the other article I had going here today. Do you have anything else to say about Baldwin and Gutierrez and things that were
nothing we haven't already shared.
Yeah.
I mean, if Baldwin I shouldn't make a mention of something because I've been talking about it on a number of shows. Next week starts the mattress dumpster take swing. I doubt it trial. And I had planned to be on Nick's show covering that live as we cover so many trials. But Nick let me know yesterday that apparently they're not televising the trial.
Yeah.
Because it's not televised, there's no practical way to follow it. So I've been telling people to join us on Monday to cover that trial, but that's not going to happen. So sorry, folks.
Well, Andrew, Legal Mindset, and we're going to be streaming the Murdaugh trial, the Texas guy he has like 90 different federal financial crimes against him. Plus right now he's on trial for murder for deleting his wife with a rifle and his son with a shotgun. Jury selection starts Monday. You're more than welcome to join us for that. I mean, there's no self-defense involved in it. He's just accused of murdering his wife and child. We're going to do that.
I appreciate that. I'll see if I can pop in or from time to time to join the fun there.
Yeah, jury selection.
Meanwhile,
starts
thanks
Monday.
for having me on here today, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
I mean, absolutely, because I know you've been dealing with this, and you did a stream about it yesterday, and this came out like just as I was going to sleep, so I didn't have the wherewithal to do it. And if you're going to talk about firearms and death, law of self-defense, Andrew Branca is the man you want to have here. And if there's any evidence of any element of self-defense, he's also the guy you want. Here's your last grift. Go ahead, give us your last grift before we shut this down.
Here's a free one, folks. any claim of self-defense, I don't care what U.S. state you're in. I don't know anything about Korean law, but in the U.S., any claim of self-defense is made up of up to 5 distinct elements. These are the targets the prosecution attacks to try to disprove your claim of self-defense. This is what you need to defend. If you don't know these 5 elements of a self-defense claim, you don't know how to do self-defense. Fortunately, we give you this cheat sheet for free. It lists the 5 elements of a self-defense claim, provides a brief description of each. We don't charge a penny for this. It's just a PDF download. You can get this at lawofselfdefense.com/elements, and it's free. Can't make it cheaper than free, folks. lawofselfdefense.com/elements. All right, Jeff, I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much for having me on. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks,
and
Andrew.
I'll see you all soon.
All right, and I'll do these last few super chats and I'll get out of here. Thank you so much, Andrew. Pleasure to have you here. We'll hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya. And all right, let's do these last few super chats and we will pull the plug here. Callie Sandy Aaron says, thanks to you both for the education. Never held a gun, only needles and medication. Kind of the same thing. Thank you so much for that. And Geomancy says, I hear you grew up in Logan, my whole family. Yeah, we just went over that. Absolutely. Yeah, I grew up in Logan, Utah. That's God's country right there. And what do you got here? Corn Pop with the 99-cent super sticker. Thank you so much. Danny. Wait, where'd Danny go? Danny, are you here? Are you lurking, Danny, or is this just someone randomly simping for you? I can't tell. I guess it's just someone randomly simping for you. All right, guys, this is what we had lined up today. We had a few things, and it went way over time because that's who I am. Danny, is Danny here? Whatever. And Danny, love you if you're here. If not, we'll talk to you soon. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here. In what are we looking at? 9 hours from now. 9 hours from now, Flux and I will be doing our Unexplained. You don't want to miss that. I'm going to be talking about ghosts and supernatural things. She's going to be talking about missing people. We're going to be doing some serious stuff in the Unexplained. Join us 9 hours from now. The link will be up in just a bit. Take care, everybody. Mods, you're great. Thank you so much for everybody in chat. The chat is the greatest chat in the entire history of the internet. You're super. And we got to do the poll. How did the poll end up today? Let's shut down the poll. Legal Vices, the poll. I slapped. All right, here we go. In 4th place with 13% of the vote. I slapped that like and subscribe button like a bunch of giant Russians in a ring. 3rd place with 16%, 17% now of the vote. I slapped that like and subscribe button like incels alone on a Friday night. And in 2nd place with 26% of the vote, I slapped that like and subscribe button like a pimp with an underperforming hooker. And with 45% of the vote leading the poll, I slapped that like and subscribe button like a group of women at Waffle House. Thank you so much. Oh my God, Legendary Racing, you said I missed at least one of your super chats. Really? Seriously? Did I really? Oh my God. Shit. Hang on. Everybody entertain yourself for like the next 30 seconds while I search for this. Hang on. Don't leave me. I'll be right back. Holy fucking shit. Okay, there you guys go. Holy fucking shit. See, there we go. I was just trying to get through this without having to go to the bathroom, but there you go. You got me. I got stuck. There you go. How are we doing, everybody? It's me, Legal Vices, shutting this thing down. I got to find out who super chats I've missed. But in order to do that, I have to bring up the super chat thing here. Where are we? Okay, weird. Everybody, my chat has shut down like 15 minutes ago. That's kind of weird. All right, looking at you here on the super chats. No, Lorax isn't out yet. Total boomer. Yeah, I had to drain the lizard. I absolutely had to. Where are we at? Oh, Neil Peart's book about his ventures. Those are some great books. Yeah, like, hang on. I'm trying to find the super chats I've missed. But it's not coming up for some weird reason. Yeah, on StreamYard, my last super chat that came through was 16 minutes ago. So I'm gonna have to go back. Hang on, give me a second here to bring this up, and then we'll go through this. Oh God, we missed a lot of super chats. Okay, Callie Sanders says, so what about where did the real bullets come from? It's a moot point then. Set up hater of the Baldwins. Yeah, we don't know where the live bullets came from. And I think that's why more people didn't get charged. If they would have been able to say that Seth Kinney or David, so somebody else introduced these live rounds into it, then I think we would have had more charges from other people. But I don't think they were able to properly identify where these real bullets came from. And Callie Sandy, again, we've like missed all of your super chats. Also, thanks to you for the education, never held a gun. Okay, we did that one. Sandy RN, also, I would never take an IV med syringe from another that didn't know what medication was. Nice to know you give it. You're culpable. I'm not sure what that means. But yeah, you're probably right. Geomancy said, sent you a message on Twitter. Have a righteous day. Let me check my Twitter messages over here. I haven't gotten any messages on Twitter, my friend. Nope, I don't have any messages from Twitter. Unless it was just like a tweet to me, not a DM. Let me check here. I'll have to check through these things. Zoomies, freaking law of self-defense. I don't see. All right, I'll have to look closer, but sent you a message on Twitter. I don't have any Twitter messages from you, Geomancy. I'm sorry. Legendary Racing, inmate. Wait, let me see if I can scroll up to get to this. Wow, this is weird. Why am I not getting my super chats reloaded? That's weird. Legendary Racing, as of 11 minutes ago, said, inmate, I need out. I'll kill them. Guards, we know. Hurry up. We got a lot to get through. That's exactly what happened. No, I don't want to leave the studio. Why do you think I want to leave the studio, dumbasses? That's exactly what happened. This guy warned the guards, let me out. Let me get out of here. I don't want to be here. If you keep me here, something is going to happen. I need to get out of here. They didn't get him out, and then he took out 2 pedos. So good for him. Good for him. Now, my brain's not giving up. Just my muscles are giving up. That's much different. But I don't know why, but literally at 1:03 a.m. my time, which was 20 minutes ago, my chat stopped updating, so I have no idea what anyone sent as far as updates go. Let's wrap up this chat here and call it a night, and we'll be back in about 9 hours from now, I think. Lawyers can't do math. So slap the like button. 13% of you said a bunch of Russians in a ring. Slap the like and subscribe button. 17% of you said like incels alone on a Friday night. And in second place, a pimp with an underperforming hooker. And 44% of you said you slapped that like button and subscribe button like a group of women at a Waffle House. That's the end of the poll. Thank you so much. Everybody on your way out, hit the like and subscribe. Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Happy to have you here. My mods, you guys work super hard. Chat, couldn't do this without you. And those of you, the 6 of you that have subscribed since we started this, thank you so much. Love all of you. Come back in a few hours from now. Watch Flux and I talk about ghosts and missing persons in national parks. There's some weird stuff going on that needs to be discussed. Love you all. Thank you for spending your Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday night, wherever you happen to be. Love you all. Take care. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your legal vices. And remember, law rack.